Come one, come all. Welcome, lords and ladies, to day 4 of the Knights of the Fixed Ops Roundtable event. Ready to bring fantasy to Fixed Ops is our host, Vanessa Collins.
Good morning. I'm Vanessa Collins from Northwood University. Are you ready to join the royalty of Fixed Ops? Don your finest gowns and crowns because we are bringing the medieval magic to the Fixed Ops. Now, it is time for the Knights of the Roundtable to meet for our fantastical event's 4th and final day. So join us as we start the show. Join the discussion at the roundtable by using the chat feature on the right side of your screen. Just be sure to select everyone and not just hosts and panelists. Our first speaker of the day is the magical general manager, Jami Alexander, who oversees multiple Meineke shops in the Pacific Northwest.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It's a great honor to welcome Jami Alexander to the conference. Jami is no stranger to social media and LinkedIn. If you've been under a rock, you may not be aware, but she is all over LinkedIn. And Jami, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you for having me, Ted.
So we have a mutual friend, I think, in Stephen Mason, I believe. He recommended that we speak, but by the time he recommended that, I already saw you on social media and involved in a lot of conversations. So if it's okay, let's start at the beginning. Sure. Jami, who is Jami Alexander?
Well, I am going on my 27th year industry professional in the automotive industry. I've had the pleasure of learning almost 4 pillars of the business. I started in parts as a delivery driver, worked my way up to management, and spent some time as an operations manager for an on-site fleet company where we did on-site repairs and was able to expand my skill sets and knowledge from anything from Chevy S10 pickups to boom truck repairs and 18-wheelers repairs. That was a really fun job, very challenging. I've worked in car sales for a small bit.
Really?
At the dealership, at a Chevy dealership. Gosh, it's going to give away my age, but way back in 08. That was quite the experience. But honestly, it was the car sales experience that really made me find the value in process. I will be forever grateful to that 10-step process. It's something that was ingrained into us, daily, and it really made me see. And so from that point forward, I've always been process driven, and I've won many awards for that because of my ability to not only implement, message it, but also execute the process.
Wow. Today you are general manager of a number of Meineke shops. Tell us how many and where again, and how that all came about.
So I was working at an independent shop, and I decided to take a little bit of time, and it was actually kind of a funny story. I called my 1-800 radiator rep, and I was like, hey, I'm ready to go back to work. He's like, I got a friend that runs a Meineke. And I'm like, Meineke? Because I didn't know much about him. I'm like, I'm not doing mufflers. He's like, please, please, please talk to him. So I've been with this owner for 4 years. He had 4 stores when we started. In the 4 years, we've grown it to 7 stores. He's never had $1 million location. We hit 2 the first full year in, 3 the second full year in. We've had 4 years record growth. We had a record. The record growth last year was not as much as I wanted, but it was record growth, and we were positive in car count and held a $552 average ARO company-wide.
Wow, very impressive. Yeah. You're a woman in the retail automotive business, and it is historically male dominated, right? Not enough women. We actually have a lot of very, very high powered women on the roundtable, and you'll see them on all the different panels. And a question for you, Jami: why? Well, first of all, why are there not enough women? And when they do get in, they do pretty well. Okay, the ones like such as yourself. Tell us why. Do you think?
Why they're not coming in? That's interesting that you ask. I was sitting in a panel several weeks ago, and for the first time this year or last year, we've actually had a decline in women entering the field when we were for years coming up with women joining. And I think culture plays a lot into it, but we got to be realistic. You've got to have thick skin to be in this business. It's not easy being a woman in this business. It's you learn very quickly to have thick skin. You learn very quickly to be able to outshock your shockers, and you better be able to out BS your BSers, to survive. And it's disheartening for me that more women are not coming in, because I think we bring a unique skill set. We have an uncanny ability to multitask. We do a very good job with balancing the firm with the fair. We have an empathetic side to us, and we're not going to let people fall to the point that they completely fall down, but we're going to make them struggle. We're going to let them learn the process and learn to grow their skill sets. And we have an ability we can't want it more than you want it. So how do we help, encourage that? But I think that culture has come a long way since I've joined this business. And culture hasn't always been bad, but I still think we're dealing with a little bit of culture issue. I mean, if we want to really call it what it is.
Yeah. And, the majority of decisions that are made in this world are made by women, and women consumers, women guests coming in to have their vehicles serviced. I would imagine that whether it's a dealership or an aftermarket company, that if they were not represented properly by women, I think that sends a message to the consumer as well. And we hear women say all the time, an example, Liza Borges, the dealer at Carter Myers Automotive, 24 dealerships in Virginia. Liza's the dealer, okay? And that organization is intentional about having women represented throughout the dealership with an amazing career path. We hear Tully talk about the career path, and Ed Roberts. But again, women in our industry, I think it's a best kept secret of how well people can do in the automotive industry. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think we do a good enough job messaging it. We like to talk about employee issues. We like to talk about retention. We're really liking to talk about everything, but there's a very small few of us that are actually doing and making things happen. And the biggest thing is this industry is one of the most rewarding industries that you can be involved in. It's a forgiving industry. It allows for multiple opportunities. It allows you to build your business within a business. You've got companies, even at my level, in the independent shops. The owner has the buildings. We have vendors for the inventory. We have the racks. People don't buy from Chevy dealerships or Meinekes, or people buy from Jami. They buy from Ted. They buy from the people behind the counter. And I think that if we've got to do a better job of messaging that, but if we're going to message it, we need to be prepared to do it. And because we are really lacking with our onboarding processes, we're lacking, with a lot of systematic issues that, from what I'm hearing and the people that I'm talking to, isn't just an issue on the aftermarket side, it's an industry-wide problem. So we got to be able to market it, talk about it. There's good employees out there. Women, men, young kids. Some of these young kids are the brightest kids I've ever talked to. But until we that have been in the business 30 plus years or whatnot, we got to change our mindset on how we're going to, and how the approach.
Yeah. You've seen a lot in this industry, and it's an amazing industry for all types of people, all walks of life. Jami, what's your why? If I had to ask you, what's Jami Alexander's why?
My why for being in the industry? My why is I have a passion for winning. I have a passion for being able to be in a leadership position and the ability to help empower people, and to be able to watch inspiration and how they inspire me. I'm in a position where I single-handedly can help solve problems. I can help teach how to overcome objections. And for me, that's the most rewarding part of my job. I will tell you, in the 27 years that I've been in this industry, I've had really good times and I've had really bad times. I've never not once woke up and said, I don't want to come in and do it, no matter which pillar of the business I've been in, because it's a challenging industry and the objectives change every day. You go in every day and it's going to be something different that you get to learn and you get to grow and you get to work around. And being able to help lead a team and to teach them how to do those type of things and to be their confidence, or allowing them for me to step back and carry my confidence. I mean, what more could you ask for?
You're very passionate about the industry. That didn't happen by accident. How did that come about?
I had really good mentors from the beginning. I had very, very good mentors, and I was a single mom who had to be a single mom right away. And it was a serious situation, and I was terrified, absolutely terrified, not knowing what I was going to do. And I had a boss, his name was O'Shea, when I worked for Napa Auto Parts. And him and his wife sat me down on a toolbox because I was getting ready to open up a new store for them.
Okay.
And I'll never forget him. They just said, we want you to cry. We want you to get mad. Today's your day to get it out of your system, but we believe in you and you've got this. And that was it, and I knew right then and there what kind of leader I wanted to be. I didn't want to be a boss. I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to have empathy. I wanted to be kind, and I wanted to understand that we work on machines, but we deal with people, and people aren't machines.
Yeah. We're in the car business, but we're really in the people business, right?
Absolutely.
What opportunities do you see in this industry? What do you see ahead?
That's a tough one. I know that there's been a lot of focus on the EVs. I'm not so sure that I'm completely sold on the electric vehicle portion of it. I don't think we have the infrastructure, and I like the dream, but I just don't think we're there. But I do agree. I would have to agree with technology. Technology is the biggest piece of it. But it needs to evolve better. We've got some really great ideas out there. We've got some ways that we can direct message our customers, where we can reach directly out to our customers. Our customers can reach out to us. But I think we need to streamline it a little bit better. We need to get them talking together a little bit more, because it doesn't matter what sounds good on paper. At the end of the day, it's what our teams are going to use, right? And a lot of times general managers make all these decisions and it looks really great and they pitch it to whoever the head decision makers are, but couldn't use it themselves. We get it in front of our teams and we cause, chaos. So I think technology is a big piece of it. And I'm torn on, the show that we just had on whether or not it's going to be, the aftermarket taking over or the dealerships taking over. I personally think that we're going to start seeing some shifts back to the dealerships. I think the OEM has gotten smarter with their proprietary information and their proprietary parts. You even have to have proprietary IP addresses now to program some of
Yeah, right.
the cars. So, but on the other hand, I think the reason why we're outperforming in the aftermarket now is we don't have the bureaucracy. We don't have the deep pockets.
True. Yeah.
Some of the dealership world, and I know that I'm not in it, but I stay pretty in tune and I've got a lot of friends in it. And I've had a lot of job offers within it.
I bet.
It's like the game of telephone. By the time it starts up here and the message gets down to here, there's 16 different views and nobody knows what's going on. So in my world, there's 7 stores and 1 of me.
Yeah.
I don't work in an office. I work side by side with my team. I'm in the trenches. I'm in the shops. I'm helping and I'm seeing real time. My owner he's not boots on the ground, but he's engaged. We talk. And so I think when you don't have the deep pockets like the dealerships, we're quickly more invested in the daily operations.
I agree. Last question for today, Jami. If you had 30 seconds, you're in an elevator, okay, going down 30 floors, okay, and you're in the elevator with another woman or another rock star woman such as yourself, and you had to tell her why she should pick a career in the automotive industry. If you only had 30 seconds, what would you tell her? What would you say?
It's one of the most welcoming industries that you can join. You have multiple opportunities, whether you want to work in a sales side, you want to work in an office, you want to work in the shop. It changes every day. The excitement is there and there is no cap on what you can or cannot do if you believe in yourself. And if you're in this industry, the sky is the limit.
Jami Alexander, great message. Thank you for all you do for our industry. And we're going to have you back on the roundtable. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ted, for having me. Have a great evening.
One of the rising stars, everybody, and the fixed ops community and the retail community, Jami Alexander, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you.
So being a legacy automotive retailer, we've used a number of different companies over the years to help us train our people and educate our people on everything from sales process to customer service to you name it, anything relating to retail automotive. But in today's world, particularly since COVID, we really set out to try to find a partner that had a much more progressive, contemporary approach to automotive sales, automotive service, customer relations in general. And when we did that, our research led us to the folks at Quantum 5.
Anything that you can do consistently the same way gets better. So what Quantum gives us the ability to do, or has taught us how to do, is follow a very specific framework that delivers a very specific result every time. And that has been invaluable both to our veterans that have been in the business longer than me and the people that we're hiring new. Quantum came into the store as a partner. They've executed on that on every call, every interaction. And what our veteran staff finds to be the most beneficial is they get to continue to learn.
We know that Quantum is more than a vendor, they're a partner. They're actually a part of our business, a core part of our business and our daily processes. When I got into the car business many, many years ago, it was about control this, control the customer, control this. Well, now customers have as much information as dealers. So now it's more about controlling the process, understanding the customer. And that's what Quantum brings to the table. It allows you to have control of a process, understand your customer and your customer's needs, and deliver the relevant information that they need to make that informed decision, ultimately in purchasing a car, but starting with gaining that critical appointment. Quantum puts our client advisors on a pathway to prosperity. Our newer advisors see our seasoned advisors and the success they're having, and the fact that they're bought into the system and they've been on this system for years shows the new client advisors that if you buy in similarly, you're going to yield the same results, if not better. I can't speak enough to what Quantum has meant to our business and to the growth and development of our client advisors.
The doc is in. Please welcome Dr. Matt Bennett, Vice President of Graduate and Professional Studies at Northwood University.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It's a great honor when we get to welcome back Dr. Matt Bennett from Northwood University. Dr. Matt is the Vice President of Graduate and Professional Studies at the university, a great friend of the automotive industry. Matt, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Ted, the man, the myth, the legend, Ings, thank you so much. It is a privilege to be here with you, and certainly more privileged to get a call back. I know we last met while we had our Super Bowl here on campus, our Northwood University International Auto Show, and it was a privilege to work with you and your team. They were just rock stars through and through. And any opportunity we get to shed a little light on this gem in higher education, especially in the automotive sector, it's a privilege to do so. So thank you for having me.
Matt, there was electricity in the air during the Super Bowl when I was there I believe it was in early October
Yes,
for your
sir.
60th International Auto Show at Northwood. Very impressed with all the folks we interviewed. In particular, your students did a wonderful job, impressed everybody. And I'll tell you this, I've known of Northwood for a long time in my automotive career, but it's not until you go to Midland, Michigan and see the campus, see the facilities, and meet the people, Matt, that you really get to experience the true breadth of what Northwood University is.
Well, in reality, I mean, you think back to the book, everything I needed to know in life to be successful, I learned in kindergarten, right? It's about my favorite subject, Ted, show and tell. You know, I'd rather show you. We at Northwood would rather show people versus tell them, but we know there's a steady balance there. And I think that was just one indication of being able to show you and your team and members of the industry that saw that show what we're all about. The electricity, it was palpable, but moreover, it was just a true testament to the students, even their families and the type of children that they raise, that they just go grab the wheel and want to go and steer and drive. No pun intended for the fixed op folks, but they want to drive. They don't want to be passengers in their careers. And I think that's what's really unique about what we do here in our laboratory, quote unquote, at Northwood University. And the product, our students are very well received by employers in all walks of the industry as a whole. So thank you again. And we're looking forward to chatting today.
So I have some questions to ask you, Matt, and beginning with building a foundation for a successful career, and particularly in automotive. And I don't know if it's another school that's focused on automotive the way you are. I have seen now firsthand that building that career starts at Northwood University. Why is that? And why should the industry recognize that?
No, that's a great question, Ted. And to your point, there's certainly other schools that have dipped their toe in the proverbial waters of automotive education, but at Northwood University, and it's not a sales pitch, it's reality. It's in our DNA. For 60 years, we've had an auto show that's been run by our students. We really have built the bridge between the classroom and the boardroom, or the garage in the classroom, being able to have students that are very well-rounded, but moreover, they understand at the beginning that relationships matter. They understand that relationships with customers matter. Relationships with the service managers matter, whether you're fixed ops, used versus new car. We can get into the whole fixed and variable operations. Many of your listeners and viewers will know clearly what those are, but students get exposed to all of those different areas so that they're multifaceted. I use the term all the time, and I apologize for the listeners. I use a lot of cliches. In higher ed, folks tend to get up in their ivory towers and like to use really big words. I try to bring it down to the most simplistic terms because that's what resonates with the majority of our audiences. And the word I typically use with our students is they're Swiss Army knives, right? They understand the power of relationships and people, and they can be applied in a number of different ways throughout organizations in the automotive sector. Whether that's a dealership, an OEM, working in marketing, finance, they can play. And that foundation comes based on the repetition and the reps. As you hear in athletics, you get a lot of reps at Northwood University. And then when they go to their employer, they're ready to play and they're ready to be successful, and they're not afraid to compete. They're not afraid to be successful. And in fact, a lot of them come in just hungry to make a difference, as we like to say at Northwood, in their career and in their lives, and eventually throughout the communities they serve.
Matt, 6 decades, that is a strong record for an institution. And you really propel students forward to that successful business career. And like you said, they are serious. They know what they're going to be doing. And the track record shows. So, in particularly in automotive, what does that look like now as we enter 2024, going into the beginning of the year? Here we are about 4 weeks in.
Well, coming into the new year, there's still a lot of angst. Like, what will the election bring? What will policy bring? Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of dealers that have been printing money across the country because they haven't had to hold on to inventories, right? They've had the luxury of working with clients and customers and bringing them in to build their cars via their computer, kind of like this. But I think there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of uncertainty, but I think you've found that a lot of successful organizations are planning for the uncertainty. They're, trying to figure a way, how do we best communicate within our organization? How do we build bridges between our fixed and variable operation divisions? How do we work with our OEMs to optimize profitability? How do we best leverage our customer engagement so that we bring them back? It may not just be a car sale, but how am I building those relationships with my customers to bring them back for not only one oil change, but 36 of them, or, getting their wiper blades fixed, or new tires, so there's an array of these types of questions and planning that are going in, but so much of it is also being driven by analytics that folks never would have considered. We had a meeting with a colleague here just a couple months ago at another industry exposition, and they can tell you by about a week of when the car that they're tracking is going to need wiper blades, or that they're going to need brake pads, or that they're going to need new tires. So being able to have that level of data and that level of understanding about the customer and what their needs are, just, gives them greater ammunition for success. So I think you're bringing in not only the personal and relational elements, which, let's face it, is the blocking and tackling of this industry, and you combine that with the tactical data sets, you really have a lot of ammunition, as I suggested, for success. It's just a question of, one, having the talented people to be able to deliver on what you set out to do. You know, I wish I had a crystal ball. If there's one forecast that I can guarantee, it's that Northwood University will be a part of that education and training element, not only for 18 to 21-year-olds, but continual educational endeavors for adult learners, folks within the industry that want to gain certifications and designations, maybe want to continue on at the graduate level. I can assure you, in my crystal ball in the industry, we're going to be a part of the educational part of that, and we're privileged to be a part of it as a whole.
Matt, I did not know until I came there about the graduate program that Northwood has. Can you give us a little insight into that? Because I'm not sure if everybody in our audience is aware of that as well.
Yeah, so as I think we chatted a little bit about, Ted, I'm a Northwood alum twice. I have a degree in finance and accounting, as well as an MBA from our DeVos Graduate School of Management. And in my first tour of duty after graduating from graduate school, I was a director here of our corporate and specialty programs at Northwood way back in the 2000s, and had the privilege of working with, at the time, Dr. Tim Nash, the dean of our graduate school, in launching the world's first ever dealership and automotive executive MBA program. So we've got the who's who of that cohort across industries. I won't go into names because I'll forget one of them, and then somebody will call me up just after this airs. But I can assure you a number of them are watching. But what I share that for is a preface that really started a trend to bring together the best and the brightest. For whatever reason, we held back on that in the teens, right? 2010, 11, and 12s. And so we are relaunching a version of that to once again bridge the gap and bridge the engagement of not only folks in the dealer and retail space, but also that aftermarket space, which, as you know, are converging. So we were going to have a Master of Science that we've just launched in organizational leadership for automotive professionals. And the beauty here is we use our graduate platform as an opportunity to bring the best and brightest in all areas of automotive and mobility, and then they can learn and engage each other. You're not going to learn all of the details associated with the automotive sector because people are bringing that professional experience into the course, but we're going to leverage over a third of the content to be automotive related. So it's really a dynamic hybrid in which you're not only gaining the academic credentials, but you're building a dynamic network that's unmatched. And it goes to your earlier question about what does the industry hold? It holds collaboration and cooperation for success. And as I always try to say, really it'll be a rising tide that'll raise all ships for the industry through a program like this.
Matt, automotive retail and automotive aftermarket, okay? What a great opportunity to promote the relationship with the aftermarket industry at Northwood. There have been some big gains made in terms of new programming. Could you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I think it starts, Ted, if I may, and I think we chatted just a little bit about it in October and kind of scratched the surface, but it really starts with Northwood One being a private business school. And I say that because as a private business school, not $1 comes from a taxpayer for us to run our operations. And I share all that to begin with, that we very much believe in free enterprise and capitalism, but it starts there because we have to listen to the customer. We have to listen to what the customer's needs are before we automatically try to take something off our proverbial academic shelf and apply it. And I say that because we always and continue to listen to the automotive industry as a customer, listening to dealers, listening to OEMs, listening to aftermarket jobbers and warehousers and service providers and all of those to figure out what types of training are needed, what types of educational resources are needed. And we've really taken a lot of pride in building that programming based on what they're raising their hands and saying they need. We also know that listening to the customer, two things stand out regardless of what type of organization in the automotive sector is in terms of their challenges. And the top two things are, one, attracting talent, and two, retaining talent. And so we've really tried to embed ourselves with organizations across the country to be able to be that service provider of providing talent, but also working with them on education and training resources and opportunities, micro-credentials, certifications, and designations that help them retain the talent that they have in their organizations. We've also gotten really creative working with them to ensure that not only their employees have this benefit to work with Northwood, but their sons and daughters can also have that experience through scholarships and opportunities and internships as well. So hope that answers your question. But moreover, it's really about how we can best serve the needs of organizations in the automotive sector. And we know our place. And one, we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we've got to listen twice as much to what their pain points are and help them find solutions however we can.
Matt, Northwood's got a rich history of working with employers in the automotive industry. I see it firsthand. Tell us, why does the industry look to Northwood for the professional development of future leaders? And that's what you're growing there. I see our future leaders.
I think one, it's we listen. 2, it's in our DNA. You and I have joked candidly, but Northwood University has a number of very dynamic business-specific educational opportunities, degrees, non-degrees, graduate degrees. But really the root of a lot of what we do is we have motor oil running through our veins, right? We speak the speak, as I shared. You can't fake it. No. Either light up in a room of automotive professionals or you kind of fumble for your words. Excuse me. And I think what we have found most impactful is it's relational, but moreover, we really have listened to the customers in the industry, and we've put together programs and opportunities to have success, not only for our 18-year-olds, but for our 38-year-olds, our 58-year-olds, our 68-year-olds. But I think what it really boils down to, Ted, is our students, whether 18 or 38, they come ready to participate.
Yeah.
They come ready to play. I use a lot of sports analogies. I was a former baseball player, as I shared with you here at Northwood, way back in the 1990s. Man, it's tough to say that. But our students, whatever age, practice and are ready to play when they get employed. They're not getting employed and hope they sit on the bench for a few years before they play. They come in ready with a bat to take swings for the organizations that provide them with an opportunity to have a job or a career. And that's why there's organizations lined up outside my door,
yes,
our career and professional development office. They're lined up to gain access to the students here, wherever they are in their career. Even if they're alumni that are in their mid-30s or 40s looking for career changes, our new career and professional development director, Steve Poole, has a number of these organizations that want access, whether it's interns, whether it's etiquette dinners, whether it's opportunities to speak in classrooms, or candidly, and I won't say who it is, the organization might fly up their private jet to pick up students to fly them back to their location just to get a taste of what life may be like in that organization. And that's not one company. That's a handful of them. So it's a privilege to be in the industry, to have a product in our students that employers want, especially in the automotive sector.
I could see it firsthand. I don't want you to mention any of those partners' names because I don't want you to leave any out. Okay?
Excuse me.
But there are some very impressive partners that work with Northwood and understand the benefit. Talk about the relationship with them, if you don't mind, because I think that's really powerful. And I don't know too many institutions of higher learning that have the relationship-driven focus that Northwood University has.
No, Ted, and I appreciate that. I apologize. I coughed and sneezed there at the same time, so my bad. I think the reality is we place a significant and intentional priority on relationship building. And in no other industry like the automotive sector is that vital. I think I subscribe to a philosophy that's pretty simple, but it's served us well. It's served the industry well, and it's really about prosperity through partnership, right? I'm a firm believer that if you partner, you have great prosperity. And that means that you meet each other in helping solve the issues that you might be facing. And what I say by that is, we listen, but we also are Switzerland in a lot of ways. So we may have competing organizations in the industry, but we still have students and talent that we can place.
Yes.
We still have education that doesn't know which side of the fence they're on, right? but we know that we can deliver education and training, but also a product in our students that can contribute to these organizations. So whether it's an OEM or a dealership group or a distributor group or an aftermarket group or just a significant player in the mobility sector as a whole, we're talking about organizations that are Fortune 100 to Fortune 500 that we're working with, and it's a privilege to do so because we do it the right way. We do it with innovation. We do it with a free market and entrepreneurial spirit. But moreover, we do it with a focus on personal responsibility. Our students understand that when given the opportunity, people can make a difference, as our founder, R. Gary Stauffer, used to say. And that's a beauty of Northwood that I think you really find absent on college campuses today. That's why, as I'll quote our president, Dr. McDonald, who I know you've had a chance to chat with, will say in a lot of instances when people scoff and complain about the state of society today, or the state of colleges and universities, or the state of the next generation of leaders of our organization coming off college campuses, our president will say, you need to spend a little more time at Northwood University. Spend a day here, as you have, Ted. Spend a weekend here. And I think you'll walk away like you have, Ted, feeling pretty good, not only about the future of the automotive industry, you feel really good about the future of our country. And that's why we're really proud of our liberty and business for all mantra, because our students embrace that. They're wired a little different. And it's a privilege to work with them every day. And like I said, you find that the hiring organizations, especially in the automotive sector, they love them. And students have gone on to great careers. And they come back.
They do. Matt Bennett, great honor to spend time with you today. I look forward to spending some more time with you this year and coming back and revisiting. And like a good friend of ours, Mike Stoll says, the best is yet to come.
It really is. And Ted, you're doing a great job. We are fortunate for the partnership, but moreover, we're fortunate for the friendship. And I hope one of your New Year's resolutions for 2024 was go back to Northwood early and often.
Yes. You know, my daughter just graduated maybe a year and a half ago. State University of New York down here.
Okay.
And after I visited in fact, I called her from the campus. I said, I should have had you come this week to see this. So on my next visit back, she's coming with me, and she's going to see it firsthand as well.
Well, we look forward to it. We've got a plethora of innovative graduate school opportunities for your daughter, and even a doctoral program, Ted. So there's a lot of opportunities down the road, not only for your daughter, but any shameless self-promotion we can put forth, we will. But overall, it's really about best fit. And I think there's Northwood students and prospective students out there, and there's those that aren't. And we understand that. And I think the reality of any organization is understanding who your market is and really delivering to them. And you have done that, and we are privileged to be able to do that with you together.
Everyone, to learn more about Northwood University, there's a QR code that's been up on the screen. If you would scan that code, that'll take you right to some information on Northwood University. You can get a lot more information, a lot more coming up here on the Roundtable. Everybody, Matt Bennett from Northwood University here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, Ted Ings and the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Welcome to 2024 WarCloud Jeopardy! Our Time is Money edition. Our contestants are previous champion, Corey Roberts, and we welcome a new contestant, Melinda DePrell. Let's look at the board. Our categories today: warranty volumes, out of time, man versus machine, and sports legends. Corey is the previous winner. You have the board.
I'll take warranty volumes for 100, Jim.
Warranty volumes for 100. The percentage of survey dealers who believe warranty volume will stay the same or increase. Yes, Corey.
What is 95%?
That's correct. In fact, 55% of dealers believe warranty will increase in the coming years. Back to the board. Melinda.
I'll take out of time for 200, please.
Out of time for 200. Since 2020, the increase in time spent to process a single warranty claim. Melinda.
What is jumped from 11.1 to 16.3 minutes?
That's exactly correct. Processing a single warranty claim has jumped from 11.1 minutes to over 16 minutes. Back to the board. Corey.
I'll take man versus machine for 300.
Man versus machine. With the majority of claims taking 24 to 48 hours to be submitted, this is the only solution that can reduce that time to mere seconds. Corey.
What is WarCloud?
The winning answer is WarCloud. Our final question, Melinda, choose a category.
I'll take sports legends for 400, Jim.
Sports legends for 400. This is the booth where you'll find two-time MVP and Super Bowl champion Kurt Warner at NADA 2024. Melinda.
What is WarCloud at booth 6119N?
That's correct. The winning answer is WarCloud. As a matter of fact, the winning answer is always WarCloud. WarCloud turbocharges your automotive warranty processing.
Meet some of the noble heroes of automotive. Our next segment introduces us to industry leaders paving the way. It's the Young Tech panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. This panel is the Young Tech panel. It is industry leaders paving the way for the next generations. And I want to thank the panel. Jeremy Stevens, who helped put this together a couple renditions ago, is going to be moderating the panel today. He'll be joined by Sir Ed Roberts. They are both of Bozard Ford Lincoln fame now, and joined by Sir Montana Thomas as well, technician there at the dealership, very popular one. Shawn Kingrey is with us. Jim Sabino is here. Richard Lupo is on the panel. Welcome. Robert Migliaccio is with us from Carter Myers, and Shawn Butler is here. So welcome, everybody. Exciting topic. And Jeremy, you've captured everyone's imagination with this topic, and a lot of people want to hear some of the best practices. So I know you've got a great panel ahead for us. I'm going to step out of the way, Jeremy, and I'll come back and see you folks at the end. So Jeremy, the show is all yours.
All right. I appreciate it. And guys, thank y'all for being on here. And none of y'all need any kind of introduction because y'all are well known and y'all have great stores and y'all run great store. I love seeing your stuff on social media. So thank you for being on this panel. And I just want to go ahead and start off with some questions. Just trying to get a feel of the land to see how many young technicians we actually have in the store. So if we can just go around the room and just seeing how many technicians you have around, under the age of 23. So Ed, we'll start with you and just work around.
So we're now at 103 technicians total here and at Bozard Ford Lincoln. And my count this morning was 42 of them are 23 or less. And I brought Sir Montana here with me today because he's one of our success stories that has become a master Ford tech at the age of 22. He's now 24, but he's went through our programs and it shows that it's possible.
All right, go ahead, Richard.
We've got 14 line technicians at the Honda store. We got 3 more at our Acura store. Total that are under 23 are 4, and then I've got one that's 24 or 25. So anyway, we've got a good percentage of what we've got are young.
Mm-hmm.
My numbers obviously pale in comparison to Sir Ed with 103 technicians.
Hey, you're making it happen, though. That's all that matters.
No, hey,
you
guys have a great operation there, Ed. I mean, fantastic, and kudos to you. You've certainly earned it.
Thank you. How about you, Robert?
So I didn't get to hit every store to find out the true number. It took 23 stores to finally go over Ed's number of technicians, though. But we're getting there. But of the 3 stores I'm overseeing right now, we got about 34 technicians. Roughly about 10 of them are under the age of 23. So we got a real young group here. We got a number of older guys in the aspect as well. So we got a lot of training going on across the board. It's pretty neat.
So it depends on the store because obviously we have 8 stores. This being the biggest store, having 48 technicians, 21 of them are 23 or younger. Obviously, we are a grooming program, and I know we'll get to all those questions with the express lane and the truck center, the body shop. But we're borderlining of going towards the half number. And again, if everybody remembers back to when I started here, the positive thing is there's a lot of 40-plus year employees. That's a positive, and it's also a negative because you had to start back over. So we're dealing with that as well.
We're going to add glitch to your name there as well, Shawn.
Right, Jim.
So, Jeremy, we have a blended of 18% of 23 and younger across our rooftops. Again, we aggressively go after the younger generation, the graduates of the trade schools out there, which is, our bloodline. It's our lifeline. That's what we need to replace the aging technicians that are starting to tap out. So 18% right now is our current rate of 23 and under of our technicians across the rooftops.
How about you, Shawn?
I'm not doing as good as you guys. I only have 2 people under the age of 23 out of 18 techs in my shop, but I have a plethora of techs of 26 to 34. And a lot of those came out of that 2-3 year trade school, and they're just now really getting their feet wet, and they're going through the process. In mine, I had texted one of my guys to come up here, but he must be on lunch. Logan is a shining example. 2-year tech school, 1 year in express, 1 year in apprentice. The guy's busting 120 hours of pay period, every pay period like clockwork now, 26 years old. So
very nice.
We have a lot in that in that age range. So I only have 2 techs over the age of 50. So we're good for years to come.
Nice. Good. So it sounds like if we look at it based on the percentages, it seems like we're fairly close. It seems like we do have a lot of young technicians out there. And I want to kind of switch it up a little bit because as we, it's hard for me to go back when I was first a technician and walked into a dealership the first day. It's very overwhelming. And Montana, you can speak on this too. So I want to talk about these young technicians coming in. Some of them probably never had a job in their life. There's a lot of stuff that they really don't know, not even the technician part, but just work life. So if y'all could just kind of speak on to your onboarding process, what does that look like? It's, you got to do a lot of housekeeping stuff, the do's and don'ts. So if y'all have any good examples of your onboarding process, let's share some of those.
Well, for us, I'll start with that. But for us, it's a key of it's a high stress point for our technicians or anybody when they start the first day, especially coming to a store this size. We have 354 employees total, over 100 techs, as you guys heard a few minutes ago.
And I was stressed my first day here.
It's intimidating. And it's about being prepared for them, because if you're reacting all day long to, well, let me get this for you, well, let me get that for you, then it looks like we're not ready for our folks when they get here. And we got to help them lower that stress level by being prepared for them, having their accesses available to them and showing them how they can log in. And rather than going and getting the information and stuff that they need when they get here, we have it for them and going over it with them when they start. Mm-hmm. So it's about having a process to get that ball rolling.
Oh, yeah. On top of that, the good thing is when you first get here and you're just starting out, what's nice is that everyone's there to help you. Everyone's nice to you. Everyone has an open arms. Like, they're going to help you get going, so you're not just drowning and going to starve.
How about you, Richard? You got any good onboarding tips?
Well, the onboarding, we start the onboarding process really with just the initial interview. The way that we go out and recruit and bring new technicians, what we call entry-level technicians or ETs, into our business and ultimately hire them. It starts with how we bring them in. It starts with a very first interview. It continues on through the drug testing, the background, all that stuff. So it's usually a second visit. And then we prepare them for getting all the initial paperwork done, We try to have their email and their logins for rentals and all that kind of stuff. When we make that decision to send somebody for a drug screen, we get that upstairs. And so when they're getting themselves signed up, they have an email address, a rentals login, so they can clock in and out and all that stuff day one. And then myself or one of the service managers at the stores take them on a tour, especially of the areas they're going to be in, take them parts department, sales department, introduce them to the GM, introduce them if they're available, ownership, and just give them a good tour of the campus, let them know where they need to be, parking, etc. We have an overview map of the campus and show them, where to park, all those kinds of things. So it does definitely relieve the stress of the unknown and the new. And but for us, it starts with casting the net out and filtering who we're bringing in and starting that acclimation process from day one.
All right, Shawn, how about you?
For us, I believe in hiring on the spot, right? It's not really so much of an interview. It's a confirmation of a feeling that I had as I read their information. So I don't really, come on in, Logan. I don't really invite people in unless I plan on hiring them, if that makes any sense, right? I might look at this. Logan, come on over here, buddy. I just wanted you guys to say hey to Logan. Logan, when he first came in, these are a lot of guys that do what I do, but they're way better than me. Yeah. So I'm just here cleaning up a little bit. So Logan was a guy that came in and nobody would hire him. If I remember the story right, you sat down in front of him. You've been to how many places that day?
Like two or three.
Yeah, and they'd all told you, no thanks, we didn't want you. Yeah. And like a long-haired hippie type boy. I don't care. Right? He was a Northeast Tech graduate, very, very well-spoken young man, very kind manners. What's not there to work with, right? Hired him right on the spot, and now he's actually every week, 2 weeks, he fights out for the top two on turning hours. So that's 2 year Northeast Tech. He went through about 9 months of Express and about 9 months of apprentice program with the Master Tech, working side by side. He's only 2 bays over from that Master Tech now. So if he's got questions, he's got answers. Okay. So anyway, I just want to introduce you guys to Logan. And
good job, Logan.
Yeah,
congratulations, Logan.
Yeah. So that my onboarding process is very simple. If what I felt when I read your resume, when I read your information is the same as when we talk, you got a job.
Very nice. And Logan, hold on. Keep Logan there for a second.
Oh, wait a minute. He's running up.
Logan, don't listen to Shawn about he's not as good as we are. We're trying to be like Shawn, 1. And 2, persistence pays off. As you could have gave up after you went to the second store or the third store, and you didn't, and you stayed after it. And the opportunity is there. Well, the same opportunities are still at that store as well. So you're right down from the Master Tech. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because in 10 years from now, you're going to be the guy that everybody's asking questions to. And so sponge up everything you can and give back.
Yeah, I got your magazine that I was just flipping through last night. It's still sitting in my RV. I was going to show Logan, you guys, half of you are on the cover of that thing. So,
and hey, Logan. Yeah. When you get to the other side and you're the guy that they're coming to answer the questions, make sure you give back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if I know anything and somebody asks, I try to help them. It's just most of the time there's a bigger and better fish to go to,
Well, we're fortunate. We have a very cohesive shop. It's not unusual to see 3-4 guys on the same car. That's a daily occurrence. So we're really lucky there.
Nice. All right, Robert, what you got?
All right, dude. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
That's a lot to take in, Shawn, man. That's awesome. Great job, Logan. Very similar. I mean, we have some similar shop aspects in, the cars that everybody is helping each other all the time, constantly. The thing I find interesting is my younger techs tend to migrate towards the younger techs when they're in the shop. So I got guys that just started maybe a couple years worth of knowledge behind them, and the guys that are just starting are finding themselves going to them. So I don't know if it's just a seniority or wavelength, or they just feel more equal in that regard. So we try to break that up and utilize our shop foremen and our older techs to kind of culture and nurture them very well. But, just like Richard and Ed said, just having everything in place right off the bat is something we do. When my technicians or my employees come in, I have a folder from our HR department, has everything that they need, their email, their logins, their passwords, everything's all ready to go for them. Pay plans are all set up and in place before we do everything. So when they walk through the door, they're really ready to work the moment they show up. So we have a great process here we do throughout our stores and try to emulate, some of what the other auto groups are doing great things too. So it's just really interesting. We talk about the young technician aspect of it, and just I've found it very interesting that the ones that they're migrating to are not the senior master techs unless there's something major going on. But if it's I need a hand with this, or, what do you think about this? They're batting it back and forth between each other before they really kind of go seek the big big guys' assistance on stuff. So it's real cool to watch how they pull together, and very similar to what Shawn Butler said there. There's a whole group of people. I'll go out there and there's 2-3 guys helping out on a car, and no questions asked. Nobody's running to me asking who's going to get paid. They're just helping each other to help each other.
All right, Jim, your turn.
All right. So, listen, they're going to echo a lot of what's going on as far as like Richard saying that, getting all the onboarding processes done as far as company email addresses and logins to the computer, things like that, all the access. That's done through our HR department prior to day one of them starting in the shop. Once they do arrive here, they're set up and they're mentored with a senior master technician through kind of a mentorship. We never throw anybody in the lion's den, lock the door and see if they survive at the end of the day. we continually support them, as far as the things, ordering their uniforms prior to them starting, getting their sizes. So they're, at least there's not, if they're not here on day one, within the first week, the uniforms will be here in their lockers with their name on it. Which is very important. It gives them kind of the new technician pride of walking around with a uniform so they fit in with everybody else. Going to the parts department, introducing them to the parts counter people that, they'll be interacting with them on a daily basis, the service advisors, things like that. We support them. We make sure we explain what is expected of them on a daily basis, their workmanship, proper use of the shop tools and putting things back, rolling up extension cords, rolling up air hoses in their bay at the end of the day, things like that, general housekeeping, which is just a good practice going forward. Cleaning up a mess if they spill any type of fluids, liquids, oils, anything like that. It's just something, again, it's good workmanship. It's safety, which is very important. We want to always keep a safe environment for all the employees. And once we feel that they're time to graduate, like the mobile guys, if we hire a mobile technician, they'll ride shotgun in the truck and they'll go with some of the guys out there and they'll learn how the truck works, how to interact with the guests on site, whether it's a fleet customer or a retail customer in their driveway. So they need some people skills. So there's a lot of different aspects that we do, and we try and cover all the bases as much as possible. And one of the other things that we pay very close attention to is paying them correctly. And Shawn always talks about pay plans dictate behavior. If I hope I said that right, because that always stuck with me when I heard you say that a couple of times. And yes, it does. So pay your entry level technicians properly. Don't try and come in cheaper or pay them. It will in the long term, it will pay back dividends. Don't try and save a couple of dollars and be the hero. Pay them what they're worth, because we're investing in our future. So if it's a long-term play, pay them as such, and hopefully that'll work out to everyone's benefit, yours and the employee, that technician, because they will feel valued because they're getting a decent paycheck on Friday. So that's extremely important. We take a lot of pride in how we pay our employees.
Sounds good. Very nice. All right, Shawn.
Well, I'm going to answer that in twofold. First of all, I'm going to respond to what Shawn Butler said as far as going into an interview always ready to hire. Everybody I think knows that I have a good relationship with Joe Lockard and Automax Recruiting. And again, this isn't an ad for him, but Joe and I work well together. And Joe's in all my stores, and he was in all my stores in Florida. Joe and I've gone to the point now, guys, the business has changed so much that if you have a technician on the line that's a quality technician, it better be you that's interviewing them. If you're the closer, and again, not everybody's good at certain things. I don't like parts. Everybody knows that. Parts isn't my gig. But guys, if we're going to hire a technician and somebody's on the line, I want to be the guy doing the interview. I'm not the micromanager. I'm the furthest thing from that, but I know I can close people. And when that guy leaves, he's going to leave with a job, and the job's going to be with us. We're not going to be Shawn, where Logan had to go to 3 different dealerships. I'm going to be Shawn. I'm going to be the guy that closes the guy and hires him, because you need him, guys. And Jim, you're dead right. You can't lowball him. Why play the game? Because somebody else is going to outbid you, and you're just going to lose him anyway. And if he's playing you for a pay raise, call him out on it. Say, listen, if you're here for a pay raise, tell me now. I'll give you a pay plan. At least we'll part as friends. Don't use me for a pay raise, because I'm not going to hire you later. Okay? That being said, back to your question, Jeremy, about onboarding. I'll be very honest with you guys, because this company has so many 20, 30, and 40-year employees. They didn't have an onboarding process, and our onboarding process still to this day is broken. And this panel's helped with that, to the point when we were doing budget meetings for 2024, onboarding was the number one topic, because we didn't have one because they didn't need one. Well, that's changed now. So they have an HR department. They have somebody working on just doing the onboarding and what that looks like. It's growing. It's still a broken tool. It's definitely an opportunity, but this panel helps exploit the fact that, hey, we didn't have a good one. I know everybody knows that my whole crew, it was the day of my heart attack, by the way, all went down and saw Sir Ed down at Bozart. And let me tell you, Ed made a comment about an advertisement, I think for a porter. I wasn't there for the conversation, that they put an ad out for $20 an hour and got nothing. They put an ad out for 25 and they had too many than they didn't know what to do with. And that story, by the way, has been spun. The color went from green to red around the circle, but everybody in this group lives and dies by that story. And Ed, if you want to jump on that, but that story has been shared more times than I've ever heard any other story in the group, because people listen to that.
So what that was is, a lot of times we try to bring people into our stores, hiring them at what some of the fast food chains would hire them for and whatever else. And this is a career. This isn't a job. And those are jobs. And if we're going to dance in that level and expect them to reinvest themselves into a career, we have to pay them such. So at that time, he's correct on the spread, but at that time, the rate down here in Florida was $10, $11 an hour. And that's what we advertised for. And then we sent the same ad out, advertising with $15 an hour, both of them blind, not saying nothing about the place that was the employer. And the responses was incredible. We have since then moved our base wage to $17 an hour. So if you start here at our store, the least you're going to make is $17 an hour. I don't have to worry about them running into a wall with me and going down to McDonald's and getting the same job at that rate. So it creates the opportunity to be able to overcome those obstacles, those little speed bumps that we're going to have along the way, rather than have wheels under their shoes.
Correct. 100% correct, Ed. It's not worth losing somebody for $1 or $2. It's not. You are dead spot on that one. Very true.
So I want to kind of spin it around real fast, because Robert, you said something about the young guys kind of gravitate to the other young guys and this community thing. And, I want to talk to you, Montana, a little bit. So, your first week here or whatever, or maybe it's your first month. How important is the community when you come in as, your first job, or this may be your first place you ever worked at or whatever? So the community was honestly the biggest thing, because if I started and didn't have anyone, if I needed help, didn't have anyone to go to, I pretty much would have just eventually figured it out, but it would have taken me an extremely long amount of time to find it out, and I would have just been chasing my tail, wasting time. So it's really good that I had people to go to help me out, so I can learn it faster and have it under my belt, so that next time if I ran into it, I knew it. And the community, it's good to have people around you, either around the same age or a little bit older, that have more knowledge that you're able to be confident in. Like, okay, cool. I know that they can help me and help me get me to where I need to be. So I get it done right.
So if you were going to tell us one thing that we could change and do better, because all these guys are fixed ops directors, they run great groups. What would your suggestion be first week?
First week. Realistically, just making sure that they feel comfortable. They're not stressed out, uneasy. Because if they're stressed out and uneasy, mistakes can happen. They're not going to feel like they belong. Just making sure that they feel like they're where they're supposed to belong.
How many people, if you think about it, how many people contact you your first week of work or your first day of work? They checking up on you?
A pretty good decent amount did when I started. Making sure I was comfortable. I was like, where else? Like I knew what I was doing in a sense. Like I was able to do it. So they really made sure that I was able to like be happy, like I belonged.
So it's almost like we had to change our thought mind, because when I was, when I first as a technician, you didn't have that. You just told to be here at 7:00 in the morning, and that's what you did because that's what they told you to do. And you go to that window, get your ticket, shut up, and get the keys and go to work. And it's not that way anymore. It's like, Montana just nailed it. It's like that first day is so important. And, Robert, your guys already doing it. It's that community side. And you get these young guys talking to one another, they could either make you or break you on that part. Rob, you got anything to add on that? Because I know you had some younger guys and stuff like that.
Yeah, so part of what we do, and I make sure that obviously I check in on them regularly, but everybody that comes in, not even with an apprentice tech, but they're with a kind of an equal technician when they come in as well. Kind of, I don't know, short of it, like kind of like a buddy system, to make sure they have the go-arounds, not from me, so that way they don't feel like they're getting led around by the boss and everybody's just yes sir and as we're walking through, but somebody who can actually show them where everything is, bring them through parts, show them the process, bring them through the repair orders, show them the process, how we do our multi-points, how we do the vehicle parking, just the little things that are the small pieces that really kind of put it all together. So giving them somebody that they can relate to easily, not just a superior or a senior level technician to kind of just have this experience with, but also some growth aspect where they can really kind of tie in and understand it, and more of a one-on-one situation for it. And then same thing, just try to recap daily, midweek, end of the week, beginning of the next week. So we're real involved in the first couple weeks, staying heavy in it, and then we just stay consistent from there on, just making sure they got a full track and they really got everything they got before they're really let loose to do it themselves and start learning. And then also I ask for input back from them as well. I don't always put them out there and just say, this is how we do it. I ask them for input back on things that we could do different from their version and, vision of what they're seeing and how they're being treated, versus how we're doing things or how they might've done it somewhere else that might help us do it better and more efficiently here too. So it's a two-way street. It definitely helps both ways.
So I want to talk to the audience there a bit as well, because we go to these tech schools and we think, well, they don't have anybody there for us. I met Montana at a tech school as he was starting, and then he's went through our programs here, and he is a Ford Master Technician now. And the key is, as we talked earlier with the young guys we have, he needs guys to relate to. That's what he just said. So we can't just go there and find the one and hope that they're going to be that superstar. This happens, and we relate to people that we can connect with. And we may think that we can connect with different generations, but they look at things differently. They need other guys to lean on. So don't just go out and find the one. Create a process. Go out and use the tech schools that's available to you. And those guys need an opportunity. And Montana's got a career as long as he wants to be in this business. And it's fun to watch these really kids start off and then blossom into who they are today. And he's a team leader here today, Ford Master Technician, team leader, runs his own team and makes things happen.
Way to go. That's awesome, Montana. Way to go on that.
I got to say, everybody, that Sir Ed and Sir Shawn Butler, I really like the fact of you bringing in a young technician into this panel. And I don't know how you all feel about that, but I think that's eye-opening, and it gets to see the leader and the new person coming up. And I think that Montana, I think that gave us a whole new perspective today. So I thank you all for doing that. Thank you, Jeremy. Steve, great job, great questions, Jeremy. So you got us thinking.
Good job, Jeremy.
Yeah, so wonderful.
I was going to say something at the end there. It didn't have to be recorded. But, I have a son, the youngest one, that is the nuclear engineer, right? So he just went through a whole second program. He's now a nuclear chemist. That's a 1%er of the 1%ers, right? They just gave him, the kid's 20 years old. They handed him $120,000 to sign on for 2 more years. So now he has an 8-year commitment, and he still gets to collect. He's already collected $100,000. He has almost $100,000 more to collect over the next 8 years or 6 years. However much of his commitment he has left, they divide it annually and they pay him annually. Taxes paid and everything. He's buying his first house, right? But their recruiters work the same like we do. They offer them something that they can get to. That's where I was going with that. And they show them how nice things can be. And I got one son that was a Marine. He already has a house. He has a career, and tries to break into computers and tell them how he did it. Then I got another son that basically keeps ships running. And then he has both of these are nuclear regulatory certificates, by the way. One is mechanical repair, and the other one is actually the chemistry that goes on inside the reactor. I was like, good Lord, son, 20 years old and got that kind of degree and drive. Wow. I'm just blown away.
Makes us feel great about that younger generation, Shawn Butler.
Yeah. Wait, he's buying a $300,000 house. He's 20 years old.
And Shawn Butler, I want to thank you and the other leaders on this panel for showing us the way in dealership, for highlighting the young talent, in dealership, which I know that you do, Shawn, all the time. And very grateful to you for that. I want to thank the panel, Shawn Kingrey, Shawn Butler, Robert Migliaccio, Jim Sabino, Richard Lupo. Wow, a whole lot of stuff. Montana Thomas, Ed Roberts, and of course Jeremy Stevens to help paving the way. And I think Jeremy, a lot more to come on this panel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There is.
And Robert, somebody just found you in your secret lair. I saw him go past you.
So Jeremy, there is, and to the audience out there watching this panel here, there is no better time than the current to get into fixed ops technician entry level. There is no better time than the present that they have. The opportunities, the pay plans, everything is out there is absolutely amazing.
100% agree, Jim.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, piggyback what Ed said. The trade schools want us there, so go get involved.
Great message, everybody. Jim Sabino, thank you. Public service announcement, spot on. So everybody, the Young Tech Panel, industry leaders paving the way here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
a lot to look forward to, including our next speaker, Fred Fordin, CEO of Fordin Automotive.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Fred Fordin is with us, one of the great names in our industry. Fred, it seems we're seeing more and more of Fred Fordin, and that can't be by accident. I know you got a lot of things afoot. Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. As always, great to be here. I love getting on your show with you.
I know you've got some big announcements waiting in the wings. Before I do, you are famous. Your team is famous for bringing together a game-changing technology that we all know by affectionately as ASR Pro in the dealership world. And Fred, that product today is not only in 7,000 franchise dealers between X-Time and CDK, but it's spawned so many products and services as a result of the technology and thinking that you had to bring this to fruition. How did you initially identify what the needs of the industry are to make that kind of impact?
Great question. Thanks, Ted. So, I was in Sonic's Dealer Academy class and was looking at what Atcon had built back in the 70s as a paper process. And of course, it was cumbersome, and you'd have to have two people just entering and analyzing data every day. It wasn't a realistic thing to work back then. But when I looked at it and I realized, I was running a BMW store at the time, and my customer pay was just dismal because BMWs, they were all going out on short-term leases, and they had just implemented full maintenance, which covered everything but basically tires and wiper blades. And so customer pay was really suffering. And I looked at what was going on in my shop, and I thought, something's missing. What's the need? What is it that could drive those numbers up? And the need was the lack of a good inspection. We had, the old MPI sheets with greasy fingerprints and scribbled handwriting. Customers weren't getting anything out of that kind of presentation. And frankly, the dealers weren't really getting a fair shake at what repair dollars were pulling into the drive and going back out and never being discovered, right? That simple thought was what drove, us to create a product that we knew would alter the way our company operated.
And it certainly has done that with the entire industry, Fred, as well.
Yeah, at the time I was building it, I was trying to make my lane make more money. And, I never envisioned that, thousands and thousands of dealerships would be using it, years later.
It's considered the standard now in the industry, the gold.
It is. And, of course, we're very proud of that. And, our job today is what's next? I did my time with DealerTrack and I did my time with CDK. Both of those were great learning experiences because I got to see other pieces of the industry from the software side that I had only experienced from the dealership side. And when you come to understand both ends of the business, of the software business, it really is eye-opening. And so, for us, it just came down to what's next. Of course, I had a non-compete. I had to sit down for a year, but my son and we're well on our way now.
All right. So you've got Fordin Automotive. I know you're headed at the end of the week to NADA. You've got some announcements, as I mentioned, in the wings that are coming. Before you tell us a little bit about that, Fred, tell us briefly the history of the Fordin family in automotive. There's yourself, there's your son. I know you've worked retail, and you had the smarts to take something that you needed on the service lane, on the service drive, and turn that into a tangible product that other dealers, thousands of dealers would need.
Yeah. So Fordin in automotive goes back over 100 years. So my great grandfather was an owner of one of the very first taxi cab companies in New York City. And he had a large fleet of taxis, and he had a big garage where they did all of their repairs. And there was actually an article in the New York Times, like in 1929, telling the story of William Pop Fordin, who was my great grandfather, and that was my father's name as well. From that taxi business was born the very first franchised automotive repair shop company. It's called Great Bear Auto Centers. So Great Bear started in 1933, I believe. They just celebrated their 90th anniversary. And so that was my grandfather and all of his brothers grew up in their father's garage fixing the taxis. And then they went out and opened the first independent repair shop that they owned. And that turned into an 85 to 90 store franchised repair company back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. I grew up in those stores turning wrenches.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fred, I had no idea about that. Great Bears, your family.
Yeah. In fact, I have a cousin right now, Audra Fordin, who's been on the morning show and Good Morning America. She's been on every big national, hosted interview show like that.
Yeah.
She owns a Great Bear Auto Center in New York still.
Really?
And she started a movement called Women Auto Know. And what she does is they educate women on knowing about their cars and knowing about auto repairs and not walking into a shop and getting ripped off. And so, so our family is just huge. My grandfather had 9 or 10 brothers and sisters, and they all got involved in the business. So over the years, all my dad's cousins, and it's just spread to, a large family in the automotive industry.
Yeah, I follow Audra on social media, on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, what is Fordin Automotive up to now? What's next?
Well, today it's me and my son Charles. Right? We've been looking for the last couple of years at what do we want to do next. We have a number of ideas of things that we're going to be building over the next 24 months. We started Fordin Automotive. We found a partner. So we are now a well-funded technology company.
Okay.
And we purchased a piece of software that had been developed, but had not quite come to market yet. It's a business intelligence tool. It's going to go deeper and offer more capability to manipulate that data and learn from the data than the companies that are out there now. We're really excited. We've been working for the last 3 or 4 months. We bought the company, knew we had a great product, but it's not quite where Charles and I are comfortable yet. We knew when we looked at it that it was built, the technology stack is excellent. It was designed really well. The ideas that were put into it were really well thought out. They were done from the standpoint of being the dealer. What would we want to look at? And the product has been in roughly 30 stores now for well over a year. And so it's well healed. The kinks are worked out, but there are some additional features that Charles and I feel are necessary to really go out and make an impact in the industry and really make positive changes for the industry. And so, we're 90 to 120 days from, going out and starting to sell, but we didn't want to wait a year for the next NADA. So, we're doing this now.
And I know you're going to put your name on something that's great, and you're going to do that when it's entirely ready, okay, for the industry. So you're not really a startup. You're beyond that initial finding a product idea and raising capital to get it in the business stage. How is this going to be different than ASR Pro? Because I'm hearing a lot about business intelligence right now at this time.
Right. And of course, with AI now being available, business intelligence is taking on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
How is it different from ASR Pro? ASR Pro, I built in my own store. And then I walked away from my job as a general manager of a successful BMW store, and I went knocking on doors. This is very different. This is a well-heeled, proven product that we're not going to have to go door to door. The customers are going to come to us because we really have something dynamic to offer. And unlike ASR Pro, where we had to go into the dealership and train every fixed ops employee on what their role is and what their portion of the workload was. Excuse me. This is not that. This is a management only tool, and it could be trained right here on Zoom between you and me. So So it's going to be a very different operating model than what we had with ASR.
So Dealer Pro BI Business Intelligence. Fred Fordin, what are your expectations for what this new product is going to do for the industry?
So, I was really very fortunate and blessed to have a couple of great mentors in this industry. I had been in it for decades and didn't know how much I really didn't know. But then I got to some really older, wiser guys who had been around forever and who had really helped to initiate a lot of the best practices that we as an industry utilize today. From those contacts and the education that I got from those guys, there are ways to look at our business that 95% of all dealers don't examine. They don't go there. It's so far down a rabbit hole, and most guys are not, especially car guys. We're not known for being good to have a long attention span and go down a rabbit hole and dig out an answer. We typically pay other people to do that. I know I did. It wasn't something I knew how to do. What we're going to do is we're going to make it really easy for those dealer principals, general managers, upper level managers in the larger groups to be able to look at analysis in ways they've not been able to before, or if they have, they've had to spend a great deal of time to get there. And we're going to make that stuff really simple. It's going to pop. It's going to be easy. It's going to be quick. You're going to be able to ask questions of the business intelligence tool that you would, and they'll just come up and give you an answer, where ordinarily to get to that kind of information, you would have had to study pages and pages of reports or spreadsheets. That's going to be eliminated. So we're really excited. The other thing that we see it doing is it will be a more thorough planning of financial acuity, if you will, than the industry is also used to. It's going to give GMs who don't have, really deep financial training, the ability to learn as they go in a very, very profound manner. And so these are the things that we're working on right now. We've got our team of developers here and in Europe that are, heads down, 12, 14 hours a day. They understand the rush that is now created by me, which, they're not thrilled about, but of course they understand the need for it. And so we are really focused and really determined that, in 90 days or so, we've got an industry leading tool to share with all of our brethren in the business.
Everybody, Dealer Pro Business Intelligence is coming. Fred Fordin is bringing it to market. He's got a great reputation in our industry. Fred, if folks want to reach out to you, friends, colleagues, maybe even those who've just heard about you in the industry and all the success you've had, if people want to get more information, what's the best way? Well, I see your email is scrolling along the bottom there, Fred.
So my email's there, and my calling me is easy as well. It's 919-237-1000.
All right, and I imagine later this week, will you be at NADA out in Las Vegas?
Yes, we will be at the show all 3 days. We do not have a booth because we didn't want to show the product yet. So all of this is just letting everybody know that we're coming.
All right. It's coming, everybody. We're hearing a lot about business intelligence. Fred Fordin is leading the way. So, Fred, congratulations to you. I hope to have you back and learn more about the launch and bringing in some of the dealers who are using it and talking more about Dealer Pro Business Intelligence.
Thanks, Ted.
Fred Fordin, everybody, here today with us at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
As consumer buying habits evolve, it's only natural for your dealership to grow too. The key is providing a seamless, engaging experience for your customers while also ensuring long-term dealership success. Introducing Retail Anywhere, a dealership-wide process that enables you to meet your customers' needs without sacrificing what's really important to you: profitability, accuracy, and efficiency. Here's what this looks like in the service department. A customer visits your website to schedule a service appointment. She's able to view current vehicle information, past vehicle repairs, needed maintenance, and previously declined work. With the click of a button, she selects repairs needed and schedules a service appointment. She arrives for her appointment, bypasses the line at the counter, and easily checks in by scanning her mobile QR code at a self-service kiosk. She also selects 2 add-ons offered to her and drops off her keys. As the technician performs the multi-point inspection, he tracks recommended work electronically. He links images and videos of repairs to the digital RO and lets the advisor know the inspection is complete. Pricing and parts availability are automatically tied to the digital RO, so the advisor simply sends a link to the customer to review and approve the work. When the customer receives the link, she is able to see all recommended repairs, including pictures and videos of her vehicle. She accepts one of the jobs, but declines the other. At the dealership, the advisor, technician, and parts department receive the customer's updates, and the approved work is started right away. Declined work is flagged for future opportunities. Once the work is completed, the customer receives another text alert with a link to view her invoice. She pays securely online and heads to the dealership to pick up her vehicle. It's after the service department is closed, so she checks out using a kiosk and receives her keys. Retail Anywhere is built on a single system, single process approach. It allows customers to schedule, review, and approve work on their terms, whether in-store, online, or both, while still allowing your dealership to retain profitability, accuracy, and efficiency. Retail Anywhere, without sacrificing anything.
Hi, Fixed Ops Roundtable. We just released Harmony AI, our new 24/7 AI scheduler. Keep watching to preview.
This is Harmony, your digital assistant. I will be happy to schedule your service appointment today. Is this John?
Yes.
Would you like to book an appointment for your 2022 Accord?
Yes.
Now, please tell me what services you would like.
Oil change, tire rotation.
Would you like to drop off your vehicle, wait at the dealership, or would you need a ride?
Drop off.
Our first availability is today at 10:30 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and 12:30 p.m. Please select a time, say next, or say a date of your choice.
10:30 today.
Great. You are booked. Your confirmation is on the way. Our team looks forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye.
If you're interested in learning more, Update Promise will be at NADA at booth 1263 in the West Hall. So, we'll see you there.
Begin your hero's journey. Welcome back to the Knights of the Fixed Ops Roundtable event.
Who turned out the lights? Our next segment includes a hit from our After Dark show featuring Tony Owens and Jami Alexander. Good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and thank you all for coming to our After Dark show. Tonight, we are joined by Tony Owens and Jami Alexander. These are two very relevant people that we have at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, but this is Vanessa's and my first time ever meeting them face-to-face, so it's very exciting for us.
Thank you. It's an exciting night. Welcome, Tony, welcome, and Jami, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And Vanessa, we've seen so much of Jami and Tony, and it feels like we know Jami already, right? She's actually going to be on the big event coming up, and a lot of exciting things. So, Vanessa, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about when the show is going to start, the big event coming up very shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next big event, the Knights of the Roundtable, is a 4-day event going from January 29th through February 1st. It's all virtual and online, and you can get your complimentary tickets to this event right now at fixedopsroundtable.com. So make sure to go grab those tickets.
Yep, we are less than 2 weeks away. The agenda will be out this weekend. It'll be published. So if you haven't already gotten your tickets, go to fixedopsroundtable.com, sign up. You'll get a notification with a text that the agenda is out, and there it is. You know, we are getting so smooth, ladies, you know, because as things happen, you know, we figure it out, and I like how it's all going. So I'm excited about that. Tony, you excited for the show?
I'm always excited about the show. How can I not be? If somebody misses this, they're missing the boat.
Yeah. Hey, it was great the other night to have Michelle McLean on, and I think I mentioned in the green room, I didn't know she was a skater, Tony, until
yeah, I didn't know that either. That was great to know. I love that kind of information. It doesn't surprise me that she killed it in sales. It does surprise me a bit.
So do you guys know what a skater is? Because that's a new, like, that's actually an old lingo, right? From the car term.
I don't.
They would call someone a skater, Katrina, if the salesperson jumped in front of other salespeople, right? And yeah, they would skate around the salespeople, or you know, you go out to have a cigarette, Tony, okay, or you go out to the shop and you come back in and you see that your customer is sitting at Michelle's desk, and Michelle is talking to them and writing them up. She just skated you, right? She's a skater.
Oh, yeah. That was my customer. Yeah, I talked to them last week. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Jami, you sold cars.
I did.
Where?
Beto Chevrolet and Toyota of Olympia, based out of Washington, for a short stint.
Were you pretty good at it?
Absolutely, I was. I'm good at. Well, I mean, I don't want to. I want to stay humble. But absolutely, I never sold cars before in my life, and walked in my first month and sold 31 cars.
That's unheard of for first month. That's great.
I did a hat trick on my first day.
Oh, yeah.
I had people glaring at me big time.
That's why I call her superstar. That's exactly why. She's a beast.
Hey, David Lucas, the ladies have been asking about when we're doing the Taste of Australia. Just putting that out there. Sorry.
Vegemite.
I'm excited for it, but not for the Vegemite. I've heard only terrible things about Vegemite.
No hurry, David. So we're going to talk a little bit about shop tonight. And Jami, tell us what you do now, because you're in the Pacific Northwest and you're definitely in fixed operations.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, I'm kind of all of it. I run 7 Meineke car care centers. We're a full repair shop. We have a corporate name, but we're independently owned and operated. So I'm the general manager, which means I'm a general of everything. I help with HR. I help with training. I pay bills. I do the counseling. I do the hiring. So I'm kind of a little bit of everything. Where my true passion is, I've got 2 of them. Is I think everybody can see from my posts is I truly believe in kind leadership and the servant leadership motto. I don't believe that I'm anything without my team, but they're everything without me. But my true passion for the industry is the shop side. And that's why I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight, especially you, Tony. You and I share that love and that passion for the technician crisis that is going on. We are taking the time to truly try to get to the bottom of it and listen to them. And my opinion is as an industry, whether you're in the independent side or the dealership side, I encourage you all to listen. We need to listen more to our technicians. Some of the conversations that I've had publicly on LinkedIn itself or privately have been absolutely inspiring. And they've got some really, really great ideas. And we really got to kick that you're to be seen but not heard mentality that we've had for years in this industry. We really need to collaborate with them, and we need to start bridging the gaps and listen to their ideas, guys and gals. They've got some really great ideas, and even I am inspired by how customer orientated that they are, which is a stigma that's been around for years on our technicians. And they want to please the customer and they want to do well.
Jami, so you were on a panel recently on aftermarket. Sam Caldwell was on that panel from Northwood as well. among others. Marco Zwanenberg, the technician, was on there. When you say technician crisis, define that for anybody in the audience who needs some definition, and then we want to talk to you about shop.
Okay, well, for me, the technician crisis is, you know, for years, we have been missing, you know, they've been exiting the industry, whether they're leaving on their own accord because of the way that they've been treated. They've not been treated like the professionals they are. I mean, to put it in medical terms, they're the doctors. We're the pharmacists. We can't prescribe anything to fix the patient if we don't have the doctors to diagnose them. And so not only are they been leaving in the mass exodus, but they're also being poached, guys and gals. They, you know, people from the electrical fields and the engineering fields, they're plucking our technicians because they're seeing the value in the technicians that we've not seen. I think we're starting to see it. And I want to be fair. I think that the industry has come a long ways. This technician crisis has been going on for a long time. However, we got to do a better job of understanding what their needs are. The flat rate system, I know that it's been there forever. Let's start thinking outside of the box. I don't pay my technicians flat rate. We give them an opportunity to share in a percentage of the total ticket, so they can have, you know, parts and labor, which is, you know, everybody. The more we get the teams together and everybody's got skin in the game and they're allowed a piece of the pie, really great things can happen.
Jami, do you know this person here, Kaylee Filio?
Absolutely. She is an absolute rock star.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's great.
She inspires me.
See that, Kaylee? All right. So good going. So Kaylee, looking forward to everything. So hope all is great. And, you know, we've had a number of panels in the last couple of days. There's a real cold swath going through the country right now. And yesterday I had a panel, Jami, with people from Chicago and St. Louis. And it was so cold that in both cases, their internet froze up, okay, and was having trouble getting the video through, right, through StreamYard. Videos were freezing up, and we had to come up with some backup plans. So it was absolutely crazy, absolutely nuts. So a lot of stuff happening. So
I fell off of my stairs coming outside. We've had an ice storm too. Thank goodness. The only thing I hurt was my pride, because at my age I could have broke a hip.
Oh goodness.
Ladies, go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so part of our topic tonight that we're going to be talking about is technician productivity and efficiency. So a question that I have, and either of you can answer, is what issues are dealers faced with regarding technician productivity?
You mind if I do that one, Jami?
Not at all.
The biggest issue that we have with productivity is, first of all, you have to know your people. The service managers and service management needs to know their technicians. Every technician is different. You have to manage 20 technicians 20 ways. Whatever makes that technician work, that's the way you got to do it. And that, I'm not just talking about production. I'm talking about know them as people, know them how they are. Be a team, be a true team. Be there for them, mentor them, show them the right way. It's so important that dealerships do that for their people. I posted this on LinkedIn a few months ago. I lost a technician, Cody Blankenship, was a great young man. And he went on to bigger and better things. We didn't make any mistake. We trained him. We made him the best he could be. He got a position and he moved on. I'm glad he did. I hate to lose him. I talk to him daily now. But it's all about relationships with your people that work with you on your team. You have to have that culture in your place. It's so important. It's more important than anything. There's nothing more important than that.
You guys got a lot of fans out there.
I appreciate that too. Shawn, well, you know, Green Bay. Oh, what can you say? I won't go there. What a game. Yeah, but no question. I appreciate you letting me answer that, Jami. And I want to add quickly, Jami, I got to watching you on LinkedIn. Is how I got to know you. The way you get information, the way you're like a sponge. You're picking up information. You're begging for information. you are a superstar, a true superstar, because you get every information you can get, and you use that information. You ask questions. I just love that so much about you.
Well, that was very kind. Thank you so much. I'm completely honored and blessed by all the support that I've been receiving, because I came to LinkedIn to level up myself and to find different ways to help my team, and to grow the team. And, to be able to have a voice within this industry is a very humbling experience. And the different thought patterns that I'm finding from everybody out there. Thank you. I mean, this is how change happens. 2024 is the year of change, right? So we've committed to it. So now how are we going to implement it? And this is how we implement it, by collaborating and working together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't do it by yourself. You can't. There's no way. There's no I in team. That's an old saying, but it's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is for both of you. Both of you can have a shot at this question. But what steps should dealers take to identify issues in productivity and capacity?
Let me go first.
You go first, Jami.
So productivity is something that should be monitored, and it should be a KPI, or at least for me, is something that's kept in front of me, and I monitor it daily. We have a shop management system where I can go in and see what's in process, the hours billed, and I do that not because to keep a thumb on my technicians, but we have a duty to make sure that our technicians are staying productive, and it's a good tool to use to make sure we can evaluate if productivity is slipping. Just because productivity is slipping doesn't mean that it's a bad tech. Are we not assigning the work within the capacity, the capabilities of the technician? Are we having a workflow issue? The technicians are tired that we have. They're overworked, they're tired. So shop efficiency and flow is more critical than it's ever been. And so that's something that I monitor daily. And the other thing that I do, as far as the capacity side of it, this industry for years has always thrown more people. We don't want to fix the broken systems. And so before we figure if we need more technicians within a shop, we need to evaluate our KPIs. We need to see where we're at. The productivity, is it there? Are we at max productivity? Can our techs touch more, or are they at the limit? And then we go in to figure out how we're going to grow, and what that looks like, what's our leads. And that's where the organization comes in as a whole to justify adding the more people and to understand if we're at capacity or not with the current workers we have.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Tony, I love that.
Well, I equate it to like Kaylee's Parts Edge. You have to micromanage, and not in a negative way. You have to watch everything they do, every move they make. You have to help them to be faster and to be better at what they do. Every job they do, who is the fastest at that job? That's the guy that needs to get that job. Who is the best at this? Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. You got to make sure that the technicians better than anyone, and you got to make sure that the right guy gets the right job every single time, or the next guy. You got to rate these guys. If you got 20 guys, you got to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guy, because not everybody can get the best job every time. You move to the second best job. Whatever they can do the fastest, you really have to know them extremely well and make sure that you feed them their strengths.
Hey, Jami, I got a follow up. What about women as technicians? Why are there not more women as techs? Some dealerships, we had a panel on here, Tony, you remember, with Jeff Daniel, in Michigan and Kalamazoo at Maple Hill Automotive Group, with 4 women, techs in his shop. He's got an all ladies service advisors, ladies service manager. I don't know how Jeff does it, but he does. And Jami, why don't we have more women in the shop?
It's a shame that we don't. And honestly, I've had women technicians, and I will tell you that it has been inspiring to watch. The attention to detail, the wanting to produce quality, the determination in them to figure out I could challenge a woman technician easier than I can challenge a male technician in my experience, because they're wanting to grow, they're wanting to learn, they're wanting to absorb. And I think that we have a fault of an industry with that. I don't think we do. We're doing so much talking about the negative and the hot button topics on the extremes, but we're not coming back to the middle. We own that. This is the best industry in the world, in the earth. In my opinion, it's a forgiving industry. We have many different departments. There's massive room for growth, whether you want to build a business within a business, whether you want to work in a shop, an office, you want to sell vehicles, you want to work in, security, you want to work in the digital platform. We got to do a better job of advertising to the women. We got it to everybody. And we need to start, instead of focusing on the stigmas, we need to be working to change the stigmas. But by doing that, we need to get the really great things about this industry out there as well.
Well, we have one, I posted her on the LinkedIn. Hannah, she's my personal technician. She only works on my vehicles. My nickname for her is Queen Tech. She is sensational. I walked back there one day and she was torquing my wheels with a lug wrench when she was rotating tires. Detail oriented. Mm-hmm. We need more women in the business, in all phases of the business. They are the best.
Hey, Cindy, in the chat, you got to come back on the roundtable, because remember last year we did a panel, Cindy with Michelle McLean. Let's do that again. I don't think we'll do it in time for this event that's coming up the week after next, but let's plan it out, Cindy. And, you're definitely a major favorite here on the roundtable. You got great retail experience to share with everybody, so I appreciate that. And Claudia, by the way, Rapid Recon is all over this event. Dennis and Josh did a great job, so appreciate all that you do for the industry, and a lot of great women. At Rapid Recon, and Tony, that's an organization that's really got a great team.
I follow it. I love Rapid Recon very well.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm sorry, I wanted to put that out there. So.
Well, another question, kind of pivoting back. So what strategies have you found to be effective in managing workflow and ensuring technicians can work at their highest level of productivity?
So high level questions.
I'll take this one first, Jami. I kind of touched on that. You have to know them. That's extremely important. There's nothing more important than knowing your technicians. Nothing more important than that. Know their strengths and feed them their strengths over and over again. You cannot stop doing that. They will be successful, and you will be successful. Your team will be successful. Feed them their strengths.
Oh, wow.
Love that.
Yeah, well said. So my thought on that is absolutely, I 1,000% agree with you, Tony, but I would like to add that I think we need to do a better job of bridging the gaps at the counters. And so we've got too much of a separation between the shops and the counters. And when you can get a service advisor or a manager behind the counter to form a really good relationship with the technician, they become a checks and balance type system. The technician is going to understand the advisor's weakness and vice versa. So it goes to signing within capabilities, like Tony was saying, but as far as workflow is, car count's been a huge issue. It's been an industry-wide focus for several years, and it's really gotten critical with probably the last 3 or 4 years. And so understanding and having clear communication, we need to make sure that we are allowing for us to not say no to a customer, but keep the racks moving. We need to have an efficient inspection process. We need to make sure we're getting that up in a timely manner. And one of the biggest frustrations with technicians with the new digital inspections is we're not doing our jobs at the counter when to get the inspection up quickly. It's not to diagnose it, it's to identify a concern. And then we have a duty at the counters to slow the process, allow to sell the diagnostic for the time so the technician can dig into it deeper. And by doing that and allowing it, and by saying, you know, hey, we'll have you done by the end of the day. So that way, when you have the other customers come in for the oil change that needs the brakes or needs something, a service, we're not having to tell customers no, and we're creating a snowball effect, and we're keeping our techs fed, we're keeping them happy, we're keeping the shops moving, and we're managing expectations for our technicians. We work for our technicians. We got to change our mindset. You know, our technicians are the biggest piece, especially on the, I would kill to have dealership money and to have a team around me. It's 7 stores and 1 of me. If I had those kind of resources at hand, I would be unstoppable to be able to help with streamlining things. So be grateful for what you guys have, understand the weaknesses, bring people in to have your strengths. And it can, I mean, especially with the dealership world, was it 50% almost pushing of your fixed operations is your total gross profit? I mean, that's 150 reasons to bring focus to happen.
Spot on, Jamie. Spot on. You hit it right on the head. You know, it's not, I turned wrenches. It's not easy being a technician. Nobody understands the stress that they go through on a daily basis. They don't just stand back there and throw a diagnosis at a car and fix it. They break bolts. They lose time. The stress in being a labor technician. Understanding that with your technicians and relating to that is everything. You can't be above them. You have to understand what they do every day. You hit that right on the head, Jamie.
Absolutely. And I think to be able to bridge that gap is, you know, many times we focus on finding the common ground, where this is a process we got to work backwards. We need to identify and be upfront and truthful with the frustrations between the two, because once you identify the frustrations, we can work this backwards, and we can really bring true change and understand, because that's a fantastic point. When you go out in the shop and a technician's hollering, they're not mad at us. You know, they're mad because that 10-minute job turned into an hour because now they got to replace the wheel lug bolt, or they tore down the wheel bearing and we need a spindle. The advisor isn't mad at the technician. We haven't done our job as leaders to train the advisors to not be uncomfortable, to go back to the customer and say, hey, you know, sometimes incidentals happen. We did not see this. This is why we couldn't see it. This is what we need. So if we start working to get we got to stay uncomfortable, but we got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and focus on the training to make that happen. So we can not run around just stressed out and mad at each other.
Exactly.
Well said. Very well
said. That's why I call you superstar, Jamie.
The nickname. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, so on the topic of like productivity and efficiency, we all know that AI and technology is improving every single day. So what role does technology play in improving efficiency in an automotive repair shop?
I can take this one first if you'd like, Tony.
Go ahead.
I have lived, ate, and breathed this last year with implementing the digital vehicle inspection. Technology is not a bad thing. It's scary for us to step out of our comfort zone. However, with the customer experience focus that we've had, I don't know about the dealership world, I've had really good luck bringing in people from hospitality roles to stand, you know, to be the managers and service advisors. With that doesn't come a lot of automotive knowledge, but they're delivering that great customer experience. So the digital piece of this process is absolutely imperative. And you got to balance it just like everything else. The struggle that we're currently having with it is we've got so many great ideas out there, but they're not talking together as well as they should. I think whoever's working on, you know, these inspection processes and these go-to digital platforms, please let's get them to communicate better. Yeah. But again, it's a tool, and you know, the tool itself isn't going to make us successful. It's how we successfully use it, how we implement it. This almost killed me rolling out this process, but I was determined not to roll out another broken system or something that was gonna create more chaos. And so it's constantly messaging. It allows for somebody who doesn't know a lot about the automotive industry to give that explanation. It's visual to the customer. If the customer can see it, they're gonna buy it. We had a $136 average ARO increase, and we run over an 80% digital inspection rate last year company-wide. I mean, so a $552 ARO to be able to do a streamlined inspection process, I'll take that all
day long.
Yeah. Not to mention,
Stronger than death.
We ran a 70, I think it was a 71% was our lowest store in weighted GP. So we got to get on board with it, but you got to be willing to do it, and you've got to be willing to message it, and you've got to be willing to listen. And the technicians are still very torn on this process, and that's because we have not sold it to the technicians, and we have not listened to them on how we do it. And again, to my point, selling the time and the diagnostic up at the counter so the doctors can diagnose it, and we can have a happy customer.
Exactly.
You guys are
to touch on that a minute. I'm 62. I've been in this business 43 years. I'm going to be 7 more. I call myself new old school. I don't like the term old school because I'm not old school. I got old school thoughts. I work new school ways. It's all about how you do things today. How you do things today is digital is so important. Ford is working with somebody on AI to make service appointments, which, well, we'll see how that works out. But all this stuff is extremely important. And I'll touch on this quickly. I'm working on a scheduling loading system that is better than anyone in the business. I'm hoping to have that out by the end of the year, hopefully. If that works out, I did this on paper in 1992 before there were computers, and we were doing 170% efficiency religiously, and cars getting out the door quickly. Hope that works out okay. We're going to try that, see what happens. Jami, I'm probably going to reach out to you for help on that, for some ideas, because you've got some great ideas.
I'm always here for it. Technology scares me horribly. And this, I had to make a commitment to myself, and I had to make sure that I stayed steadfast in the process. And it's rare that you hear me say something about myself, but I'm pretty proud of myself because I thought this was going to kill me. It was a brutal process to get everybody to buy on board, but I am a believer. And if anybody has any questions, I am always willing to talk about this, because no matter what, we're an industry. Doesn't matter if we're independent or dealership. Our stigma and our reputation is only going to be as well ran as we run it together.
Yeah, well said.
Spot on.
Jami, strong stuff. You got great insights.
Thank you.
Tony, another superstar, right?
She
Big
certainly
Tony.
is. There's no question about that. I think we're going to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, I think so. And Tony, you got to break the news of the new product when it's ready here on the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Tony.
Well, I'm hoping to be a sponsor next year, Ted. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay. This should take off pretty well. Take off very well. So,
all right. Well, guys, thank you. That went really fast tonight.
Yeah.
Can we go another hour?
Thank you guys. It was an honor to be on here. I truly appreciate it. And remember, girls, I'm proud of you. These girls right here give us all hope for the newer people coming into our industry.
I appreciate that, Jami. It's so nice to finally meet you.
You as well. See you at NADA.
I'm so excited. Yes, we'll be able to meet in person.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, guys. Thank you.
You got to interview Jami now, right?
Oh, yeah. We got our mini mics. We're going to do some interviews. It'll be fun.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate everybody watching. I see your names up there. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. And thank you for having me on, Ted. And ladies, you are the next superstars. You better look out, Jami, because these ladies are right behind you.
I want you to be better than me so I can retire and finally sleep after the 27 years I've been doing it, okay?
We will.
Vanessa, one more time. Give us the dates on the next event, the big event before NADA.
Yes. So January 29th to February 1st, it's coming up super fast. Remember, 4 days, all virtual and online. You can get your complimentary tickets right now to this Knights of the Roundtable event at fixedopsroundtable.com.
It'll be here before you know it. Get your tickets, everybody. They're complimentary. On behalf of Tony and on behalf of Jami Alexander and Vanessa and Katrina, thank you so much, everybody. And we're going to see you Monday night back here at After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Love you guys. Love you, Jami.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
The Fixed Ops Roundtable Certified Program is designed to help preferred dealers and partners with powerful tools and resources.
Learn more at fixedopsroundtablecertified.com.
This heroic knight is on the heels of his Disruptive Forces EV event. It's David Spisak of Disruptive Growth Solutions.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. David Spisak is with us. He's the president, CEO of Disruptive Growth Solutions, coming right on the Disruptive Forces virtual EV event, which he has just held. David, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
It's such a pleasure to be here. How are you, Ted? Wishing you all the best for a great 2024. I know we're a few weeks in, but it's early yet, right? There's plenty of time for all of us to write history, great history in this year, and wishing you and the entire Fixed Ops Roundtable all the best. And frankly, on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you for what you're doing to contribute to the industry, and especially for our fixed ops departments, which in my brain is the epicenter of culture in our stores, and it is the ultimate foundation insurance policy for long-term sustainability for a successful organization.
Well, David, if it's okay, today I'm going to ask you about some of your thoughts for the year ahead and what you think we have in store. But before I do, let me set the stage. You and I met approximately 4 or so years ago at some of the early Fixed Ops Roundtables when the world changed, and we were introduced to David Spisak for the first time. And here we are. You've just held your very first big virtual EV event. Congratulations. Great success. And I've got to ask you, David, why did you decide to focus on EVs? Why now? I know there's a lot of current and potential challenges that are facing dealers. Why EVs and why now?
Well, thanks for the question. And you hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of challenges. I mean, you know, for 3 years, our challenges were getting cars and counting money, right? Thanks to a pandemic and a chip shortage, supply chain. But things have transitioned pretty dramatically for most dealers in 2023 in a number of ways. And it's almost a complete inversion, you know, all those factors externally that drove a positive impact on profitability, like the chip shortage, supply chain issues, all those things had a positive impact on everything from brand loyalty to the value of our cars, to right-sizing inventory, to the expense structure, our staff. I mean, everything really lined up flawlessly. And if you look at 2023, it's those very same factors in play. However, it's just reverse, right? So it's kind of like a Disney movie, right? Where the parents become the kids and the kids become the parents. And so we're right back to the future, 2019. We're either there, depending on your franchise, or heading in that direction, with possibly a couple notable exceptions. I mean, there are some Toyota, Lexus stores, Honda stores, even Kia and BMW and Subaru, that their 2023 was really, you know, it's almost like they're in the 24th month of 2022. They're still having a pretty good time, especially the top operators. But for most franchises and most dealerships, you know, on balance, they lost 2025, 30% or more of their year-over-year net profit. So what drove it? Obviously, interestingly enough, not a lot in terms of inventory. It's not like we went from 900,000 where we were not too long ago nationwide. We didn't go back to 3.8 or 4.2 million like we had pre-pandemic. We just simply went to 1.5, 1.8, and all of a sudden margins started to compress. Now, the good news is And I always say that everything is a tailwind or a headwind, right? And the good news is our fixed ops departments, which have always been, they're called fixed for a lot of reasons. One of them is they're stable, right? And stable culture, stable people, stable processes, stable opportunities. Well, while everybody was having the time of their lives in the variable department for those 3 years, our fixed op departments were going, hey, what about us? Units in operation were dropping. Our used cars weren't at the same level. So my internal ROs went down. We didn't have as much warranty, because the volume of new cars was down. But now again, everything's kind of gone topsy-turvy. And guess who's back at the center of attention, or who should have been at the center of attention all along? And that's our fixed ops team. So, when I looked at this year going into 2024 and I sized up, well, what are the things that are at the top of dealers' minds? What are keeping them up at night? And I ask a lot of dealers that question. At the top of the list, frankly, is EVs. Yes, there's heightened compliance from the FTC. Yes, autonomous is coming at some point. Yes, recruiting and retaining employees is always should be at or near the top. But the reality is, while autonomous and flying cars are going to happen in the future is 12 years old with EVs. It's not coming, it's here. And it's coming at a rather, in some ways, alarming rate. What I mean by that is the level of production, the proliferation of models, Ted, and the level of production. It seems to be the proverbial cart before the horse, where the cart is all these models getting thrust upon us. We had roughly 50 odd models this year. By the end of 2024, that'll nearly double. And so we're already seeing what appears to be a saturation point. We're seeing a lag in demand. We're seeing F-150 Lightning production get stalled or reduced. By the way, Ford recently announced an increase of the Ford F-150 Lightning prices. We're seeing GM, Ford, and others pull back on their investments that they were wanting to make with respect to EVs. But if you're a dealer, it's like that toothpaste is out of the tube and it's not going back. So whether you are a dealer that's leaning into it and you're very pro EV, like perhaps a lot of dealers in California, or you're a dealer that's very cautious or hesitant, maybe you don't want anything to do with them. It wasn't too many months ago that 40% of the dealers in the country said, hey, I don't have them and I don't want them. But the reality is roughly 8% of our new car sales last year were EVs. So maybe in one market that might be 25 or 30%, like California. Maybe in others it might be 2%. But while we don't know what's going to happen definitively in the future, we can say this with all certainty: it's not going backwards. Every year that number of EVs is going to go up, because keep in mind, 23 was 50% higher than the EV sales in 22, which was 70% higher than it was in 2021. So let's just say that pace slows down. There's implications everywhere. They cost more, on an invoice basis. They cost more to carry. They take longer to sell. They have significantly lower profit. And then let's talk fixed ops, which is why I love what you do, is because fixed ops is so central. It's the foundation to me in a dealership. And so when you think about the biggest challenges, well, for fixed ops departments, EVs are right there. There's big implications. Anything from facility to capital expenditures and investments to required training by the manufacturer is going to make technicians leave the store again for a longer period of time. In addition to that, we're also going to have less frequency, right? Most stores are seeing customers 1.5, 1.7, 2 times a year. That's not happening. There's no express lube for EVs. Brakes, they're not really going to last 100,000 miles in most cases, but does that matter to me as a fixed op director if I'm not going to see them in the next 50,000 miles? So, when you talk about revenue, retention opportunities, training, the impact on my people, efficiency, tech efficiency, it's pretty broad. And so I thought, I don't know if there's anything else that is impending or upon us that is having such a broad potential impact on our business? Because EVs are not just new vehicle models. They represent an entirely different business model.
Exactly. And a lot of things that we're seeing and hearing, David, one of our good friends, Brian Kramer over at Commerce and at AccuTrade, has brought to our attention that the fluctuation in used vehicle values on EVs can really affect the market in a great way. And, there are just so many variables on the EV equation.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, and Brian, is just the best of the best when it comes to staying on top of that pre-owned side of our businesses, and he's 100% right. So think about this. So if you look at it from a search perspective, search is going up dramatically, and here's something that's kind of crazy to think about. When you think about EVs, it's natural to think about the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, California, of course, New York, right? Some other coastal cities. But when you look at the top 5 states in search right now, guess who's 2 of those states is Texas and Florida, right? So go figure. Also, search has gone up dramatically. Also consider the fact that while, we've gone from just 2 years ago where I believe it was roughly 85% of people saying I'm going to consider an EV, that's now down to more like the mid 60s, but it's still the mid 60s. Right? You still have, I did a poll recently, roughly 740 people voted within a couple days. And I asked, would you consider an EV? Okay. Well, 59% said no way. And if you're a dealer that goes, well, see that? No way. People don't want EVs. Really? Did you notice the other 41%? Because of the 41 that was split between absolutely I'm going to and absolutely I'm considering it. So, what I've been telling dealers is that whether you like it or not, you're pro or not, it doesn't change the fact that it's here. And you need to do something about it to make certain that you can optimize things in your store. Hey, think about this. What if your store never sells a single wave EV? We're not going to deal with them, but they do in your market. They're still going to potentially show up. Do you not want to service those? I kind of think you do. What if in your market, it's not 30% like California? What if it's 5%? Are you willing to say goodbye to 5% of your new car volume from last year? Do you really want to do that? What percentage of your new car volume can you say goodbye to before it really starts to smack your net profit? And let's talk about what Brian's talking about. On one hand, EVs, one could say, and it's true, they're about as predictable as cryptocurrency. And I'm not talking Bitcoin. I'm talking like Dogecoin, right? I'm talking like Shiba. I mean, it's just all over the map. It's up 10 grand. It's down 10 grand. Wow. And you go, it's scary. I got punched in the face on a used EV. I'm not doing that anymore. Really? Right. I really think you want to rethink that because, I had a couple of people, Alex Lawrence, who's got a used car EV only dealership in Utah, and you got John Foley who's got one called Recharge, I believe, in North Carolina, and they're popping up everywhere. Yeah. Like, do we really want to abdicate a responsibility to our consumers, or do we really want to walk away from what will become a growing percentage of our used car business? So it's incumbent on us, to figure this out. And the reality is, having some of the information just isn't enough anymore, Ted. You have to have all the information. And most importantly, you've got to be able to make the right decisions. It's always a matter of, do I do nothing? Well, we know how that's going to turn out. Do I do something? Well, at least you got a shot. You're playing Powerball now. Okay, at least you're in the running. Or do you do the right thing? And doing the right thing is putting in the work, paying attention, availing yourself to having the right information so that you can make whatever is the right business decision for your store, for your fixed ops department, for your associates, and for your consumers. And that's the reason why we wanted to be part of putting together this EV event. I was very fortunate to be joined by just an amazing group of thought leaders and experts, from Steve Greenfield, of course, having you and Ed Roberts, who's one of the best out there when it comes to fixed ops. You've got, oh my gosh, Liza Borges. You have Ron Fry, Chase Frazier. Just incredible thought leaders. JT Taylor from Truist, Alan Haig from Haig Partners. I mean, you always hear about, hey, I would love to be in the room where it happens, where those discussions happen. That is going to allow me to be able to understand what should I do going forward. And that was one of those events. And so I learned so much from it, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for everybody that joined. And I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to just touch on it a little bit, because we're having 3 others virtual events through the remainder of 2024 on equally important subjects like, man, oh man, how do I start to be more effective at bringing in more techs, at recruiting the millennials and the Gen Zs that we've had a struggle getting in, but that the Teslas, and the Rivians and the Techions and other people in our industry are having no problem bringing these people aboard. How do I create a more compelling environment? Ed Roberts, just does such a masterful job down there at Bozar, what they're doing to attract talent, growing their service base, as to nearly 100, and not having the same problems attracting techs that 99% of other stores are having, and a 2-year wait just to try to get an entry-level job there. So there is a way to take on these things, and we want to make certain that we are providing the highest level of intelligence, knowledge, expertise, and thought leaders to put dealers in a position to be able to optimize 2024.
David, it's not often that I have you here at the beginning of the year to look into David Spisak's crystal ball and kind of ask you a couple questions as to what you feel.
Crystal ball's a diesel.
Well, looking out over the next 11 months, David, what do you think for our dealer audience? Could we expect to be the biggest surprise in the auto industry in 2024? We have 11 more months left in the year.
I think there's a couple that come to mind, Ted. One is, I think it's plausible. Please don't post and say, hey, David said this is going to happen. But I think it's plausible that we will see a shift at the top at one of the big 3 in terms of leadership. I think it's at least possible that by the end of the year, possibly Mary Barra's not there, possibly Jim Farley's not there, and for completely different reasons in my own mind, and I'll leave that alone. But I just think there's such transformation going on that it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. Secondarily, we saw the deal happen recently with Amazon and Hyundai. Keep in mind that's just a pilot at this point, 18 dealerships. But some people are saying, hey, it's just a lead gen system. Hey, they've done it before back in 2018. Folks, Amazon doesn't dabble their toes in a swimming pool unless they think they could own the swimming pool, right? I mean, there's some kind of upside for them there. And so I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this year, a number of things potentially happen. Either that becomes widespread, it spreads to other OEMs, where Amazon all of a sudden has a bigger foothold or access to our client base and inventory, or perhaps even Amazon, I don't think it's out of the question that perhaps they pull a Whole Foods and buy a dealership group, which gives them instant distribution, instant access, to a wide variety of inventory and a distribution point across the country, or distribution points across the country.
Fascinating. We're in a great space right now in automotive retail.
I love this business, man.
I don't recall, David, a time as exciting as the one we're in right now.
Not even close.
What do you see ahead? Biggest change in customer expectations in 2024? Because we've seen a whole lot happen there in the last 4 years.
It's interesting. I said many, many times that the pandemic didn't change anything, but it accelerated everything. One of the things that accelerated was digital retail, right? And I'm not anybody who knows me knows I hate that term. My good friend Ron Fry, who I consider the leading strategist in our industry, coined the term modern retail, a number of years ago. And I think, well, he's got it much closer because it is a more modern approach, but it's anything but digital. Until you could digitally retail me something, I don't know if that's anything close to accurate. But what digital retail did is a couple things, and by virtue of the pandemic, we catapulted from having about 35 or 40% of dealers having some sort of online store presence, digital retail marketplace, to 96% in a very short period of time. Now, granted, a lot of those platforms fall well short of a client's expectations, not my words, theirs. And I just don't think that we've come close to meeting a client's expectations, but we have certainly gotten their interest, gotten their attention. And by doing so, we've drawn a closer comparison. We're under the microscope where we're more closely compared to the Apple or Amazon, Tesla, Lucid, Rivian kind of experience. I think that one of the many ways that EVs will have an impact and implications is, as I said, it's a different business model. It also is a different audience. So check it out. You may have sold somebody 5 cars in the past that were conventional vehicles. That very same human that shows up interested in an EV has completely different expectations that are baselined not off of the last time you sold them a Toyota, Honda, Chevy, Ford, Mitsubishi, whatever it might be, Mercedes, but based on what they or their friends have experienced or what social proof has shown on social media that they should expect when somebody bought a Tesla or a Rivian or something else. Yeah. So I believe that that is going to really, just like the pandemic accelerated digital retail, I wouldn't be surprised if this onslaught of EVs, keep in mind, Ted, a couple of years ago, we had 15 EVs. This year, we had 50 something. By the end of next year, we have over 100. Is that going to create more and more shopping experiences, more and more, increased expectations? So think about it. The percentage of people searching and who will engage in some form of at least consideration, they're going to do so with heightened expectations. I think those are likely to have be a bigger driver in a shift of those expectations than perhaps anything else we'll see this year.
Last question for today, David. You and I see a lot of technology, a lot of new emerging technology. We see a lot of trends happening. You've got a lot of experience in that particular area. What technology do you think is going to have the biggest impact moving into the rest of the year here in 2024?
I hesitate because, we've just been inundated with tech over the course of the last 10 years. And, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some fantastic platforms out there that I'm a big fan of. One of the things I mentioned at NADA last year is your dealership's not a chia pet. Chia pet, you add water and, the hair comes out of, Trump or Willie Nelson or whatever chia pet that you happen to have, Yoda. You can't just go walking up and down the aisles and pick a new piece of technology and say, well, that's going to fix that, right? So I personally think the biggest shift in technology may not be an individual piece of technology, but rather our attitudes towards that technology. One, I think there's going to be a greater demand and expectation from a dealer's perspective that we've got to get rid of disparate systems and get more integrated and more intelligent in our approach. We cannot have our managers expected to log into 12, 15, 18 platforms. And somehow it's like having our eyes on 18 different gauges while we're driving the car and also watching the road in front of us. How does that work? So I think that that's going to come to a head because the tech stack in its current form is an untenable situation. And there's the DMS, obviously, with regards to Tekion. I believe they're going to continue to make inroads. Other DMS systems are not sitting still, and understandably so. Good for them. That's smart. But Tekion is really the only one that's built from the ground up in the cloud, mobile based, and fully integrated and data intelligent. I think that's going to end up trumping even features. McKinsey happened to put out a study a couple of years ago during the pandemic that said the client experience is now trumping features in vehicles. That's how important the client experience is. And I think it wouldn't be wrong to consider a reality going forward that integration, data intelligence, simplicity, eliminating 10 logins as being more important than perhaps an individual feature here and there on select individual platforms that we may have in our stores now, because we cannot get rid of friction in a consumer experience until we make inroads on reducing friction for our associates that deal with our clients, whether that's in service, parts, or sales. So that's what I would say.
Fascinating time in our industry, David. David, you got a busy week ahead. Later in the week, you're going to be out in Las Vegas at NADA. I think you got a lot going on there. Tell us where our audience can find you there.
Thank you. And man, I love NADA. I mean, you can meet more people, as you know, network with more people, engage, interact, reconnect with people and meet new folks more in those 2.5, 3 days than you can in probably a better part of a year. So it's really something I look forward to. I'm going to be at the Tekion booth again, doing some live podcast interviews there. I'm going to be also this year doing the same thing at the Cars Commerce booth, doing some podcast episodes from that location. They happen to be adjacent to each other across that super highway. So certainly would invite people to jump in, drop by, and perhaps I could even get you to jump on stage and spend 10 or 15 minutes with me sharing your perspective or your thoughts on our great industry. Beyond that, I'll be at some events each evening, as most people are, and I certainly hope to see people there. But worst case, you could find me on LinkedIn. You could reach out to me at www.davidspisak.com, where you'll find my 150 plus podcast episodes on automotive. And you're listening not because of me, but because I've been pretty fortunate in bringing some incredible voices and thought leaders on. And I have no doubt that you're going to find that they deliver huge value. And then, of course, disruptivegrowthsolutions.com. You could always locate me there as well. So invite everybody to reach out. I'm probably one of the more accessible people in this industry out there. I'm not shy. And when if I give you my number, it is my number. It is my number that rings, as it's happened a couple times, unfortunately, during this interview. I apologize for that.
Well, David, congratulations to you on all the success that you are having. Congratulations on the big event that you just had. We look forward to seeing you at NADA and on all.
Super looking forward to seeing you there, Ted.
David Spisak, everybody, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All the best to you all for a great new year.
We're not here to throw a wrench in your day. We're ready to announce our next speaker, Jay from Wrenchway.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Jay Goninen is with us. He's the co-founder and president of a company called Wrenchway, very close to the fixed ops community, very much involved with automotive retail and in the technician space. Great friend of the Roundtable. Jay Goninen, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
It's great to see you as always, Ted. Always enjoy our conversations, and true pleasure to be back on the Roundtable today.
And Jay, congratulations to you. You're doing great work in that tech space. You've had some changes along the way I want to ask you about today, but I met you for the first time, and we were just talking about it in the green room. It's been 5 years, Jay, since we got together in that little boardroom, in that conference room in New York City, when you came out to the very first Fixed Ops Roundtable, and you came out to every Fixed Ops Roundtable that we did, right up until the time the world changed the following year.
It's incredible that it's been 5 years, and I mentioned this prior to jumping on the recording here, but in some ways it feels like it was a million years ago, and that it was, that first time in New York, it felt like a long time ago. But then when you think about it, you're like, man, it's not that long ago. And I still remember the hotel I stayed at. I still remember the boardroom and the group that we had there, and the excitement that was all around that roundtable in that first session. And it was so cool. So congratulations to you as well. I mean, seeing the growth of the roundtable over those 5 years, what you've been able to do to really springboard fixed ops to be a priority within dealerships has been really fun to follow. And I'm just really, really happy to be a small part of it.
Well, congratulations to you on Wrenchway, because you have been making big moves and strides within the industry. So to bring our audience up to speed, perhaps there are some people, probably not many, who don't know you, but Jay, tell us what is Wrenchway, and what does Wrenchway do?
Yeah, so our Wrenchway is focused on technicians, and it's really broken off into two different sections. I'll try to simplify it as much as possible. One being kind of a job board on steroids. Really, transparency is key with our job board. Being able to show a technician what they're signing up for. I think in a lot of ways, technicians have some level of angst if they don't know what it is that they're signing up for. So the job board is really essentially a way to provide transparency to that technician to allow them to do their due diligence. It's funny because it's kind of expanded beyond technicians as well. We've got a lot of service advisors, all the way up to fixed ops directors that are using Wrenchway in a variety of different ways. So that's been very, very cool to see. The other side of it is the school side. And so we have a piece of the platform called School Connect. This is to attack more of the foundational issue of needing to get more people into the industry. We need to support these programs both at the high school and post-secondary level to really be able to bring that next generation of technicians into the industry. And this is something that, quite frankly, we've struggled with as an industry for a very long time. And at some level, I think that's what brings me the most satisfaction with the industry, or with the platform as a whole, is that we are starting to pay attention to that side. We are starting to really prioritize those relationships with the schools to hopefully get more great people into our industry.
Jay, Wrenchway is a great resource for the entire industry. Before we got on today, I visited wrenchway.com, and I visited because you've got, in fact, it's in the ticker even down below, those top shops on wrenchway.com. Fascinating, the work that you're doing. And I like the way you're going about it, because it is the right way, which you and I know in our heart of hearts. And what are you seeing, in that space, that recruiting space, as far as what techs are looking for in perhaps a new employer?
I think they are looking for everything that you and I would look for, right? They're looking for really good pay. They're looking for great benefits. They're looking for more flexible time to be able to spend with their families. But ultimately, what they're looking for is transparency to be able to understand what it is that they're signing up for. I think a lot of people rely on maybe a job board such as Indeed, which, if you go to any city that's got any population and you do a search for automotive technician on Indeed or whatever job board it is, you're going to see hundreds, if not thousands of jobs out there. And the problem with those job boards is they all kind of say the same thing, right? We all have a great family atmosphere. We all have great management, which I always kind of laugh because typically it's the manager writing that they have great management. There's a lot of things that are just kind of minutia, or they kind of just say the same thing over and over again. Each job posting does for each dealership. And I think it's a great way to, maybe be able to understand this from a dealership standpoint, that you have to be different at some level, right? If you're not different, if you're kind of saying the same thing and you're offering the same thing as everybody else, what would be the point of a technician leaving other than pay, right? So being able to really share your story, this is something I talk a lot about, is being able to really show why you're different. If you're relying on a job board ad that says that you offer free uniforms, I think a technician is going to really look at that and say, okay, that's really no different than what I've already got. Why would I do it? Why would I make the move? And it's so much harder for a technician to make that move, because for a white collar job, you pick up your laptop, you go to the next place. With a blue collar job like a technician, they have to pack up their toolbox. They a lot of times have a rollback come and move the toolbox for them. It's a process to make that move. And so not only is it one of their biggest moves of their life, outside of buying a house or maybe a car or some other type of financial investment, it's also painful to make that move. So you have to give them a reason as to why they should change. And I think being able to be transparent, that's what the new age technician is looking for, is they want to be confident that when they make that next move, if they feel like they're being burned right now by their current employer, they want to make sure that they're not being burned when they move forward to their next job.
Jay, you mentioned the schools a little earlier in our conversation. Tell us why. Let's talk about it a little bit. Why is that so important, and why are you working in that space?
Foundationally, I think it's what we have to do as an industry to fix the problem. There's an abundance of statistics out there that tell us that there's a huge shortage, and most dealerships feel that every single day. They're not able to book appointments into their service drive because they just don't have the people to do the physical work. And for, in my opinion, decades, we've kind of turned our back to the schools, and maybe we would show up for their advisory committee meetings. Maybe we would show up from time to time, but most times it was us just calling the school at graduation time and asking for their best graduate. And I've got some really funny stories over the years as to how frustrating that is to that tech school instructor. If you're just calling at graduation time and asking for stuff, right? And the way that I relate this relationship is very similar to a dealership, in that the relationship between maybe a sales manager and a service manager, right? And most times when the service manager is sitting and working at their desk and they see a sales manager come around the corner, it's not typically to have a conversation about how their day is going. It's because that sales manager needs something from that service manager. And there's always kind of that weird tension in that relationship. So what we really want is for that school to feel comfortable talking to that dealership, and not having it only in times when the dealership needs something. Why don't we flip the script here? Why don't we flip the table and go be present at these schools and make sure you give them a backbone? Something we've learned as we've really grown our presence in schools is that there are a lot of these schools, especially high schools, that just don't have the support needed to maintain their program and keep their program alive. And a common trend or a common theme that we're seeing right now is that, one, there's a huge teacher shortage. There's not enough teachers to fill all of these open positions, which is if those are the people that are supplying us with our new technicians or a new crop of technicians, but we can't even find them, that's a problem. But then also a big reason why we can't find those teachers is because they're not supported once they get in there. A lot of times they're fighting against an administration to be able to get budget. A lot of schools throughout the country are fighting those budgetary issues to even to have a sustainable program. And so what we found was that there's a really simple correlation to being able to support that school and the success that that school is going to have, right? If we're able to show up and maybe they need help at a school board meeting because they're at risk of getting their budget cut for their department, which we've seen that several times. If industry can show up and voice their opinions and the luxury that we have in our dealerships is that we have these big, massive facilities that everybody sees. There's advertising on TV that people typically know who you are as a dealership. So your name carries weight when you go into those conversations. So being able to back up that teacher when they're needing something, or if the school can't provide it, what can we do as an industry to help provide that school with those resources? I just think it's so important that we're proactively involved with these schools, because it's the only way we're going to change our luck moving forward.
One of the things that you do at Wrenchway, Jay, that I really love is the way you market. Okay. And you've gone right to the technician in many cases. I got to admire your presence on social media, especially, for example, TikTok. Okay. And the number of automotive technicians that you've got following you on TikTok on Wrenchway. Do you want to speak to that and why you decided to do that? Because I think maybe initially a lot of people might have hesitated, but you jumped right in, and it certainly looks like it's paid off.
It's funny because all the credit goes to our marketing team. I'm not on TikTok personally, other than to go on and see how many people are following, or maybe looking at the comment section. The reason I'm not on there is because I know how addictive that platform is. When you get on it, you are stuck out there. And so our marketing team came to us and said, hey, we think this would be a really good opportunity to get in front of technicians and be able to share stories. We do a lot of content within dealerships to be able to take out to TikTok and be able to use out there. But I think the really interesting part about TikTok to me is how much you can learn about what technicians are saying about us, right? What they're saying about the shops and the dealerships. And some of the comments are not all that flattering. And I would honestly say most of the comments aren't that flattering. And so being able to take that, and if you can go out as a dealership and not be defensive about what you're reading and truly kind of take that, process that information, and be able to hopefully implement a change in your dealership to make those technicians more happy. I honestly think it wouldn't just be the technicians that end up more happy. I think it's your entire business and all of your employees that end up happier because of what you're doing out there. But they're out there and they're telling you what they think of our opportunities. And one of the things I'm really passionate about right now is how do we get our best and brightest to speak glowingly about our industry? Because right now, if you go out to any of the social media platforms, a lot of it isn't that flattering. And a lot of it is some of our best people saying, hey, kid, don't come into this industry. It's a hard industry on you. You have to spend a lot of money on tools and your body is going to be worn out. Like there's just so much negativity out there that if we can use that and really comprehend that information, and maybe it's something as simple as putting some form of health and wellness program in and getting your technicians to actually take it seriously, or doing something else that helps them out personally in their career so that they can have a really nice long career with you. I think it's just really important to listen to what they're saying out there.
I think you and I and a lot of the people watching here today are in a great space that we're in fixed operations, Jay. Probably no better time and no more intriguing time in the automotive industry, right, to be in what we're doing. What would you say has been the most challenging part about growing your company in this automotive space?
There's a lot of challenges in starting a business of any type, and anybody that's done it, I give you a lot of credit for doing so. For us, I think it's getting people to think differently about something that they've done for several years, if not decades, which is to actually prioritize your people. So often we say that people are our number one priority, yet they're number 100 on our to-do list. How do we as leaders move up in that regard? How do we get better at that and not make it such a reactive situation where, hey, I need a person, I'm going to post an ad and be disappointed with the results. But how do you have effective systems in place to make that happen? We have pieces of the platform that allow shops to be able to use that in a more proactive fashion. But for me, in what we've done in growing the business, that's the hardest part. And we get it. I talked to a service manager at a dealership down south here, probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. And he said, Jay, when I walk in the morning, I walk in at 6 a.m. I'm not gone until 7 p.m. And every single day I am running my tail off until I get to the end. And I'm always putting out fires. And so I understand the complexity of how hard it is to really prioritize your people. But the more you're reliant on putting out fires, the more you're just going to kind of find yourself chasing your tail. So, what are you doing from a process standpoint? What are you doing from a maybe a mindset standpoint? I know a lot of dealer principles. To me, the best dealer principles that are out there right now prioritize this, and they put systems in place to make sure that their people aren't chasing their tails. But for me, in growing the business, that's been the number one most difficult thing. Is yes, we know that people and trying to find people is one of the hardest parts of your business, but until you start to change your mindset on where it falls in terms of your priorities, you're just going to kind of keep chasing your tail and keep doing the same thing over and over again.
I met up with you in person a few months ago in Madison, Wisconsin. You and I have a mutual friend, Shawn Kingrey at the Kaiser Automotive Group. It was great to see you, Jay. And one of the things that we discussed, we were sitting in Shawn's office. By the way, he doesn't drink as many Diet Cokes anymore. He's on a more of a healthier lifestyle these days. And good for him as well.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
We talked about there was a transition when I met you 5 years ago. You were fined a wrench, and there was a whole history behind that. And there's been a transition now to Wrenchway over the past few years. And Jay, it looks great. Okay.
Thank you.
Tell us why. Why did you why the change in name and the change in the direction, some of the things that you've been doing?
It's funny that you asked that, because that's something that came up in our conversation with Shawn, and Shawn kind of pointed out a blind spot for me when we sat down and said, Jay, love what you're doing with Wrenchway, but Find a Wrench, you had, so much visibility, and I was kind of wondering what happened to that and where it went. And I'm like, in the back of my head, yeah, we probably didn't do a good enough job of explaining that transition. And so I appreciate you giving me a few minutes here to kind of talk about that. So Find a Wrench, I started in 2017. One of the problems with Find a Wrench, and that it was a great company. It was actually a profitable company. It was a good company that we decided to shift to Wrenchway from. But it was more of a recruiting based company, meaning that we were more of a recruiting firm. We would go out and find technicians for people. One of the problems that we really saw was that we weren't really attacking the core of the issue, the actual problem, right? It was more of maybe robbing Peter to pay Paul. And when I was growing up in the industry, I've been in the industry since I was 9 years old. And I remember my dad, when I was a kid, talking to me about what a cardinal sin it was to take a technician from a neighboring shop. And that kind of was that way all the way up until people got desperate to find technicians. And kind of the rules just all went out the window at that point, because everybody's desperate for technicians. And so we saw this constant cycle of, I take a technician from you, you take a technician from your neighboring dealership, that neighboring dealership then comes back to me and takes a technician. And it just ended up in this wild west that we're in today of technicians kind of going all over the place. And frankly, a lot of them just aren't happy regardless of where they go. And so we need to really attack the foundational problem that we have with that. And so we looked at ways that we could do that. We knew that we needed more of a presence in schools, but at the same time, we need to kind of shore up the reason why these technicians aren't happy in the first place. If we load up on the school side and we're packing, this boat full of technicians, but we have a leaky boat and we're sinking the boat, that doesn't help anybody out. So what can we do to bring more education to the industry? What can we do to help people understand what they've got to change in order to keep people happy? And that's another piece of the industry that we're really struggling with right now, is that we're not seeing those technicians hop from shop to shop as much anymore. We're just seeing them flat out leave the industry altogether. And so until we really address, the foundation of that, we were just going to continue to struggle. And I mentioned earlier, we launched Wrenchway in 2020. So Find a Wrench, a quick timeline. Find a Wrench launched in 2017. That grew really, really fast. Honestly, probably faster than I would have even imagined. But in 2020, I knew we needed to change. So I paired up with my now business partner, Mark Wilson. He had more of a technology background, a very, very smart person. We put together a platform really to allow that technician to do their due diligence, on a shop, make sure that they knew what they were signing up for, in hopes that they go to the right spot for them. Not every dealer is going to be the right fit for every technician. And so we needed to address that part. So that was the first part that we attacked. Then the school side, when we launched School Connect, the funny part about School Connect is when we first launched it, I think we all felt like it was going to take off because it was such an obvious need, and it didn't. So we kind of had to do some hand holding between the schools and the shops, and we're still doing that. But I'm happy to report that about a year ago, we were at about 150 schools on the platform. We're now near 700. Everything we do for schools is free. So we don't charge the schools anything for anything that we do. And we've been able to really have some cool stories about helping these schools out. So the shift from Find a Wrench to Wrenchway was all about how do we help the foundation of this rather than kind of putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
Everybody, you can learn more about Wrenchway. You see at the bottom in the scroll, wrenchway.com. Jay Goninen is the co-founder and president. Jay, that's your email on there, I see as well.
It is. Yeah. And anybody can reach out to me whenever they'd like. For those of you that have talked to me in the past, you probably know I love talking shop and I'm a pretty open book. So if you ever want to reach out and just talk, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help, even if it's to brainstorm in your current operation of ways that maybe you can find yourself in a better position.
Well, Jay, congratulations to you and continued success to Wrenchway for all the great work that you're doing for our industry. And, very appreciative of you and your friendship as well.
Thank you, Ted. The same goes for you. So proud to see the Fixed Ops Roundtable hit 5 years, and you've done so much amazing work, and to see the growth of it over the time from that first meeting in New York City has just been phenomenal to watch. So keep up the great work. Keep up what you're doing for the industry. It is sorely needed, and I'll forever be a huge fan of what you're doing.
We had humble beginnings, Jay.
We sure did, yeah.
Everybody, one of the leaders in our industry, Jay Goninen from Wrenchway, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Our revolutionary pop-up events have sparked a new wave of growth and innovation.
Become part of the brand that is shaping retail fixed operations at fixedopsroundtablecertified.com.